Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call the hearing to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory and the home and the traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, Dakota people, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 1 territory. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this afternoon. To my right, or yes, Mr. Ian Mahone, and to his right is Laurie Davidson. Our assessor this afternoon is Savannah Schlubel. I'm sorry for the pronunciation, but that's the best I can do. And our recording secretary is Jaswinder Kumar. I don't think we have any Zoom people. So we'll get right into it. This afternoon, we'll be hearing an application for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters to which revision is requested has been described in each application, and we'll limit discussions to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence by the evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by City Council and is independent, along with the City Administration. We make a decision based on the evidence provided to the hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision in respect to application may be appealed to the Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, and a Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to application for exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing this afternoon, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed and each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have. It'll be then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application is brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this afternoon. The session will close after all applications have been heard and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by the board's order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items, you hand me that sheet for 1 second. Items 1 to 7 this afternoon. So we'll ask Jaswinder Kumar to swear in the assessor and to swear in Mr. Newman right after that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
Svetlana Shaibal.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Newman, please state your full name.
Mark Newman.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, I think everybody's familiar with all the routine here, so we'll first deal with the first item on the docket, which is 1721 Portage Avenue. Madame Assessor, the floor is yours, so take us through that property, please.
File number 22-2939. Roll number 07000442100. Address is 1721 Portage Avenue. Owner is 7374721 Manitoba Limited. We are valuing the property as it stands of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition of April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, it is assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $3,654,000, and that The 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is medical office located of land area of 23,201 square feet with gross floor area 10,000 square feet in leasable area 9,731 square feet. On page number 2, subject property was sold in 2011, 2016. Subject property has 2 existing leases. And Units 100, Patterson and West Medical Corporation, lease start in 2019 until 2034 for 4,831 square feet at $25 per square foot. On the 200 Union, Integral Dental lease start in 2018 for 4,900 square feet at $26 per square foot. The subject property located northwest of the city. On page number 3, more photo of subject properties. And on page number 4, street view, it's a 2-floor building built in 2017. On page number 5, our subject property market income, but below medical dental rent comparables, I have presented 10 comparables with mean or average $24.95 and media $25. So existing lease at the subject property $25, $26 at market rate. If you're going to page 12, let's look on my comparables. On page 12, my first comparables 39 Henderson Highway. I have 2 comparables lease start in 2020 for $28 and another lease in 2013 for $24. Another comparables on page 13, it's a 429 Headmaster Road, lease started in 2019, around 1,500 square feet at $25. It's 1-floor neighborhood shopping mall. On page number 14, 1295 Layla Avenue, we have 2 buildings on the property. One of leases start in 2018, around 5,000 square feet at $22.50. On page 15, another comparable 3393 Portridge Avenue, lease started in April 2021 for 1.5 thousand square feet at $28. Another comparables on page 16, 2110 Main Street, we have 2 leases. Lease started in 2018, around 1,000 square feet at $27.60. Another lease started in 2020, around 1,000 square feet at $21.41. Comparables on 17, 225 Wowham, lease started in 2018 for $23.29. Comparables on page 18, similar to floor building on 395 Stafford, lease at $25. Let's go to my summary tape back on page 5. So my comparables on Henderson, Headmaster, Layla, Portridge, Main Street, Stafford, media, mean $24.98 and media $25 per square foot. We assess property for leasable area 9,731 square feet at $24.44. We did apply 5.5% vacancy loss, similar for all medical buildings. Expenses 3%, shortfall $8 per square foot for vacant space. Our capitalization rate 5.85%. If you look on page number 6, so our estimation 3,654,000 by income approach. If you look on page number 6, I put small notes that 2020 reported income statement. Revenue was 250,000. If you look on income value summary, our revenue 240,000. Net operating income reported to us 97,000. There was count for mortgage 11,000 and another mortgage payment 102,000. So if we put this mortgage back, it will be estimated net operating income 211,000. And our net operating income 13,000. It's very close what reported to us. So based on evidence in this report, it is assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, 3,654,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Mr. Newman, questions of the assessor's presentation?
Yes, thank you. Just a general question. Are you familiar with the principle of economies of scale?
Yes.
And generally what that principle means that as the space gets larger, the unit cost for that space will decrease, correct?
Correct, but it's not every time. If you look on page 18 of my comparables on 365 Stafford, one comparables rent in 2021 for 2,000 square feet, $25. Another lease for 672 square feet at $25.
But you agree that generally the principle of economies of scale.
Yes, it exists.
Right. The value date that we are utilizing for purpose of this appeal is April 1, 2021, correct?
Correct.
And accordingly, there should be no information contained in the briefs today that is after that date, correct?
Correct.
And if we look at your page 5, we see a listing of your comparables at the bottom of the page.
May 2021.
No, I'm just, do we see a listing of the comparables at the bottom of page 5 of your brief, correct?
10 comparables, correct.
Yes. And when we look, you have a column called area, which lists the size of all those comparables. Mm-hmm. And of those comparables, there are only 2 that are over 4,000 square feet, correct? Number 2 and number 4.
Correct.
And the 2 units in the building we're speaking about are each over 4,800 square feet, correct?
Correct. If you open page number 2, I present in 2 leases over 4,000 square feet, and one rent for $25, another rent for $26.
Okay. So if we continue to turn the page 6, at the bottom of the page, you've explained to us about the 2021 income statement, correct?
Correct.
And if we then continue to turn the pages, we get to page 8, and that is the December 2021 income statement, correct?
Correct.
A statement that should not be in this brief, correct?
It's I don't use this statement. It's our we are valuing the property as a stand of January 1st, 2023. I show 2021 statement. It just
Do you agree with
properties.
Me? Do you agree with me that this December 2021 statement should not be in your brief?
It showed stance of April 1st, 2023.
You said,
For market estimation, our effective years, April 1st, 2021. My comparables, what I presented on page number 5, I used 2020 income expenses mailer. Income expenses mailer for subject property just to view how its property stands of January 1st, 2023.
again, you said to us that you weren't relying on this information. But in fact, you spent some time at page 6 of your brief explaining to us exactly the information that is taken from this December 2021 statement, didn't you?
Correct.
All right. So in fact, you cannot say to us that you are not relying on it when in fact you have, haven't you?
You can take pencil and cross my notes on page number 6.
I can take a pencil to it. Is that what you said?
Yes, and you can cross 2021
All
report
right.
income statement.
And then we can also, wait a minute. We can also cross out pages 8 through 11, correct?
It's income expense mailer, correct?
Okay. So now let's go to page 12 of your brief. And so your comparables on page 12, that's a 1-story building, correct?
Correct.
The subject is a 2-story, correct?
Correct.
Your comparable on page 13 is a 1-story building.
Correct. It's less for $25, same with subject property. Main
Yes.
floor rent for $25 per square foot.
Yes, for 1,445 square feet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, substantially less than at least the 4,800 that's at the subject property, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But still $25 per square foot, like subject property, please.
Okay.
Started in 2000. It's on page number 2. Started in 2019. Rent for $25 per square foot.
Okay.
In 2018, on second floor integral dental lease for $26 per square foot. So my comparables on page number 5, media of $25 per square foot, and we use only $24.44. So existing leases at market rent.
Ms. Assessor, you've told us all that already. And if you would answer my question specifically, we will move along quicker. Page 14 of your brief, that's your comparable at 1295 Leela, correct?
Correct.
And that's a 2-story building, correct?
Correct. It's two-story building. One of leases started in 2018, around 5,000 square feet, like subject property, and $22.50.
Okay, thank you. Page 15 is a 1-story building, correct?
On Portrait Avenue, lease started in April 2021 for $28 per square foot.
Now, this is a large shopping center that contains within it a Safeway, correct?
Correct.
A McDonald's, correct?
Mm-hmm.
A CIBC bank, correct?
Correct.
A Manitoba Liquor Commission store, correct?
Yes, it's neighborhood shopping mall. Yes, correct.
And a variety of other tenants.
Correct.
Okay.
That's why I find medical lease for $28 per square foot, because usually medical buildings owner occupied. And most of my comparables would be at neighborhood shopping mall, a retail area for existing leases for similar type of property.
Page 16 is your comparable on Main Street. Again, that's a 2-story building.
A correct, like subject property and lease in 2018 for $27 per square foot.
And again, both premises are plus or minus 1,000 square feet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now 225 Vaughan. That building is under appeal here and will be heard after this one, correct?
Yes, lease for $23 per square foot.
Yes, let's talk about that lease. That's a gross lease, isn't it?
It's a net lease.
You sure about that? I'm going to suggest to you it's a gross lease.
I will be investigate.
Well, we'll
But
get to it in the next.
if you going on my page 5 and cross one comparables, if it's gross exist, gross lease, it will be still media around $25 per square foot.
Yeah, I understand that. You've told us that many times. Okay, so I'll suggest it's a gross lease. We'll get to it on the next property. And then page 18, these leases are dated May 1 of 2021. And so that's after the effective date. Let's go to page 19, your capitalization rate chart. This building would be considered an office, correct?
Correct.
And the city doesn't have a category for medical office, correct?
Collier, CBRE, Cushman, Wakefield doesn't have either. We have downtown A and B and suburban A and B. And if you look on my table on 19, our suburban B, it's 5.6 to 6.9. Collier showed 6 to 6.75. CBRE showed 7 to 7.5. And Cushman and Wakefield showed 6.75 and 7.75. We did assess for property at 5.85. It's inside of our range, 20 and 80 percentile.
But it's lower than all of the broker comparable rates, correct?
Yes, but this building built in 2017. It's a new building. That's why it's a little bit low. If it's a Collier showed 6, we showed 5.85%.
Let's just talk about Colliers for a moment. Have you heard in the past that Colliers includes as part of their closing costs, land transfer tax, legal fees, and things like that? Have you heard that?
We're looking on page number 19. We have a range for Collier's capitalization rates. We don't talking anything else.
I ask you though, have you heard?
I can talk about City Winnipeg. We have 20 percentile at 5.6 and 80 percentile 6.9%. And we assess 5.85%. It's inside our range.
So are you telling us that you do not want to answer the question?
No answer about Colliers.
You don't want to answer that?
It's not relevant for our case.
I see. Okay, well, I guess the panel will determine that. Those are my questions. Thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Herman. Ms. Davidson, questions of the assessor?
I do have one, just the basic one. Are all of the comps, et cetera, are they all, and the cap rate, are they all from your model?
Yes, it's model driven, but it's very well supported by my evidence.
So there was, sorry, go ahead.
And we use $24.44 and reported $25 and $26 per square foot. It's close to subject property reported, and plus my media $25 per square foot. It's fair and should be confirmed.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Mahone?
Just a follow-up with respect to your comparables and the question my colleague asked. The comparables that have been provided, including the ones post-reference, those were all provided by the modeling program, or did you find those yourself and use them for comparables?
Yes, I use them per comparables. If you don't like comparable 8, 9, and 10, and you will cross, I still have 7 comparables, and media will be still $25 per square foot. It's fair.
Yes, my question though was, where did you find those comparables? Did you find them, or did the modeling program find them for you?
No, I found them from our records. I
Okay.
was looking close to reference date and medical buildings, medical leases.
And
Because
when you search for comparables, do you how do you choose in this case 10 comparables as opposed to 5 comparables or 15 comparables? How do you pick the number of comparables to place in your brief?
I know that I should put at least 4 comparables for statistic media estimation, but 4-6 it's enough. That's why I provide Henderson, Headline, Layla, Portridge, Main Street. If we remove 3 less comparables, it doesn't change my statistical data. It will be still around $25 per square foot. How models select for us.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
I thank you. I just have one question. When you're doing an evaluation of these type of properties, and it's on Portage Avenue, and do you have sort of a guideline to look at in regards to what might be an acceptable increase from the previous assessment? Is there any sort of guidelines for you?
We don't have guidelines for increase. We're looking for market rate existed.
Okay, so when you compare markets, is there a certain percentage from that would go up in 1 year or 2 year?
No,
That you would look at?
No, it's a market driven
Okay.
analysis.
So if something goes up 50%, probably from, the last evaluation, would that twig anything in regards to looking at the value?
You can see that my lease start date close to reference date 2020 at least, because it's when lease was negotiated and specific market years. And you can see, to example, my first lease from 2020 for 2030 for 10 years lease. So that's why I picked this in 2020. If it will be negotiated 2015 for same 10 years lease, it will be negotiated in different market.
All right.
That's why very important when lease started. So it's negotiation specific, close to our reference day market.
I thank you very kindly. Mr. Newman, your presentation?
Thank you. So, as we know, a 9,731 square foot building, 2 stories, Portage and Queen, 3,654,000 proposed. 2020 was 2,507,000. Capitalization rate was 7.4%. And now we see a 5.85% capitalization rate. So primary issue is rents and capitalization rates. I've got a non-recoverable expense submission. I won't spend a lot of time on it. I know you've all heard it before, but it does become more important in the context of one of the later properties, 225 Vaughan, and I'll spend a little bit more time when we get to that. So the 2023 assessment is up $1,147,000, which is 45.75% compared to 2020. And let me say at the outset that I appreciate that finding comparables is not always easy. I do understand the difficulty. So I looked for comparables. I tried to find similar comparables from a size perspective, not always easy. But you can see that I found a number of comparables. One of them 4,394 square feet, another 3,200 square feet, with a range of rents sort of from $17 at the lower end to $22 at the higher end. I note the assessor's comparables, and I'll just make the observation, and as will be apparent from the questions I was asking of the assessor, When you look at the assessor's only two comparables that are over 4,000 square feet, comparable number 4 on Leela, which is a single-story building, 4,907 square feet at $22.50 per square foot, very consistent with my number ultimately of $22. And then the other one was Henderson Highway at 4,371 square feet at $24 a square foot. And again, the Henderson property was also a single-story building. So economies of scale, let's not lose sight of that, is the point I make. And ultimately, I'm suggesting $22 a square foot. Many of these buildings that I'm using as comparables are newer buildings as well. If you look at the top of page 3 of my brief, you can see that 2405 Main, 1020 Lorimer are both 2012 construction. So they are certainly newer buildings, and that should be kept in mind. Biggest issue in this case is the capitalization rate. So I just want to speak for a moment about the question the assessor did not want to answer, which is the issue about Colliers and their methodology. I think it's well known to many members of this panel. It's been spoken about quite candidly by Rocky Neufeld from Colliers. Colliers' brokerage side includes, when they calculate capitalization rates, they include the closing costs. So that means land transfer tax, that means legal fees. They include all of that in their sale price. When you increase the sale price with the NOI staying the same, the capitalization rate comes down. And so my position is that the capitalization rates of Colliers are understated by anywhere from 25 to 50 basis points. And so when you see 6 really should be considered as 6.25 to 6.5. And similarly, the high end of the range should be brought up as well. They use this as a marketing tool on the brokerage side because it will cause people who are who are interested in selling their properties to believe that a higher price will be available, and they're more likely to list their properties with Colliers. So it's a marketing tool. Let's not lose sight of that. So I've told you lots about capitalization rates. I've told you lots about COVID. What I want to do is just turn the pages and just briefly hit the highlights on each item. So bottom of page 3 of my brief, capitalization rates, what are they? They're the required or acceptable rate of return on a real estate investment influenced by 3 items: the risk associated with the income capacity, investor expectations for appreciation, and the required returns in other investment vehicles. Page 4, let's understand that with the coming of COVID, the world has changed forever in some ways. I don't know about your doctor. You got to go see your dentist. They're not doing that virtually yet. I acknowledge that. But I can tell you, I spend a lot of time on the phone these days with doctors. That's a reflection of my health, perhaps, in one part. But more importantly, what it's a reflection of is the fact that doctors are very happy to talk to you on the phone or virtually. You're not going in to see doctors as much as you did. And what that's going to lead to is that the space requirements are going to change just the way they are in offices, just the way they are in other types of properties. So I talk about remote work, and that's really the point I want to make. COVID brought difficulties with tenants being able to pay rent. That brought forth subsidy programs from the government. I'm on page 5 now. And what it meant for landlords was if you wanted the subsidies, you had to give up 25% of the rent, and a lot of landlords did it. Then on page 6, we come to the brokerage firms. And I'm just going to say, I'm telling you this in some detail on this hearing, on this appeal. Hopefully it can just be accepted for the next appeals and I don't have to repeat this again. So the brokerage firms, as I mentioned, the Colliers, and the understatement because of the inclusion of closing costs. I talk about different types of buildings. location, where they're located, things like that. I talk about the Altus cap rate conclusions. This is a suburban office building. That's a Class S. It'll be in the range of 6 to 7.5%, says Altus. Then if we look at the assessor charts on page 10, so what we see is that the assessor is saying that the 20th percentiles on suburban office buildings range from 5.6 to 6.9%. That's what the assessor says. The 20th and 80th percentiles. Colliers is 6 to 6.75. And remember, I've raised with you the methodology issue, suggesting they're understated. CBRE is 7 to 7.5. Cushman is 6.75 to 7.75. So that's for suburban Class A or Class B office buildings. I'm going to show you what a Class A office building looks like in a moment. This is not a Class A office building, and I'm going to suggest to you it's not a Class B office building either. If we go to page 10, I tell you there the primary issue is capitalization rates. Downtown Class A office buildings on the assessor's chart have a cap rate of 6%. These buildings have all amenities, large lobbies, significant amenities within the buildings. Downtown B office buildings have a capitalization rate of 6.75%. They too will have amenities, but it's going to be at a lesser level than the Class B buildings. Suburban buildings have rates ranging from 6 to 7.75 based on the broker reporting. This isn't a Class A or a Class B. 1661 Portage. And if I can ask you to jump ahead to page 15 of my brief. That is 1661 Portage, sometimes called the Canadian Indemnity Building. I show it to you because it's a good example of a Class A suburban office building. Significant amenities in the building, security desk in the front. If you keep turning the pages to page 18, you can see photos of the lobby. You can see the security desk. That's an example of a Class A suburban building. Page 19 is an overhead photo of 1661 Portage. And obviously, this is very close in proximity to the subject property. The only thing separating this building from the subject property is the St. James Hotel. Past the St. James Hotel, and you're at the subject building. Then page 20 is an overhead photo of a building at 1781 Wellington. And that's on the corner of Wellington and King Edward, Route 90 going south. That's a 5-story building, and they actually classify it as a B-class building. Some would argue that it's an A, but these are examples of what are categorized as A's and B's. So this property by its size alone can't be an A or a B. And so when we look at this property and when we look at the spectrum of capitalization rates, and when we see where the brokers are putting the suburban office buildings more generally, 6 to 7.75, remembering the Colliers understatement, I say to you that 5.85% is too low. With downtown buildings at 6.75, I think there has to be a slight bump for this type of building. And so I've selected 6.85%. And ultimately, my value is $2,743,000. If you look at page 14 of my brief, you will see the calculation of that. And I use $22 a square foot, 5.5% vacancy, same as the assessor, $8 shortfall, same as the assessor. I use a 5% non-recoverable. I know the assessor's at 3%, but I think non-recoverables need to be higher. That gets me to an NOI of $187,910, which I then capitalize at 6.85%. And there we end up with $2,743,000. Subject to questions, those are my submissions.
I thank you, sir. Madam Assessor, questions of this gentleman?
Are you on mute, Madam Assessor?
Mute.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Please open page 3 of agent brief. We can see discussion 2020. It's new construction 2012. A lease start in 2007. Another lease start in 2007. Third lease start in 2016. Fourth lease on Roblin start in 2015. So lease signed many years before the reference day, correct?
No,
But we already talked about the rent increase over the time, haven't we?
can you ask me that again?
Yes. We already talked about how rent increase over time, haven't we?
I don't think we've spoken about that.
It was my explanation that we have reference date 2021, and your lease is in 2017. It's 4 years before reference date. So this rent were negotiated in different market. Isn't that right?
Well, certainly it's at a different point in time. And certainly I'll agree with you that construction costs will have increased between the different dates.
You would agree that actual rent would be have to upward adjustment for the time?
Well, again, I think it depends on the size of the premises, and that's why I ask questions about economies of scale. Your rents for the larger space are not entirely supportive of the almost $25 a square foot that you're saying is the mean and median. I think it's important to focus on the size of the space.
We focus on this lease sign, and they sign your comparables 2015, 16, 17 sign at least 4 years before reference date and should be upward adjustment for time, correct?
Well, I'm not agreeing with you necessarily, but you've asked your question.
Your comparables on Roblin. How old is building? Do you know?
Yes, the building was built in 1980.
And you know that your building on 1861 Portridge built in 1937. So it's an old building and should be not should upward adjustment for quality of space, correct?
Well, but again, these buildings have been significantly upgraded. The building on Roblin, that's dental space that has been significantly upgraded.
You don't provide any evidence about it, but we know that our building built in 2017 and your comparables built in 1937 or 1980. It has different space.
Well, you're focusing on two comparables, but you're ignoring the ones built in 2012.
But these leases have to upward adjustment for time of lease.
Well,
So,
these are June and October 2017 leases. And again, taking into account the economies of scale principle and considerations of that type, I feel they're valid comparables.
So we cannot rely that these comparables, correct?
We can what? Sorry, ask again.
We cannot rely on these comparables because they negotiate in different market.
I don't agree.
No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Davidson?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mahone?
I would like some clarification on a couple of things, please, Mr. Newman.
Yes.
First of all, with respect to cap rates, there was a fair bit of discussion about the various companies, the Colliers, CRBC, Altus cap rates, and City's cap rate as well. And there was focus on a Class A building or a Class B building. And you said this could not be classified as either. Class A or Class B.
Correct.
If that is the case, then the comparables that are being referred to in your charts and the city's charts are of little use to us.
When you say the comparables.
Sorry, the cap rate ranges.
Right.
Yes.
So they're of use to you in the sense that cap rates, there's a progression of cap rates, I'll suggest to you, as you address different types of properties. And so this is why I spent the time explaining what a Class A downtown is, Portage and Main, for example, the building circling, what a Class B downtown is, many of the other buildings in the downtown core. Then we move to suburban, the Class A, 1661 Portage, the Class B, 1781 Wellington. If you say to an appraiser, what's a Class A or a Class B, they will immediately want to understand the size, because small buildings don't fall within the Class A or Class B categories if you talk to an appraiser. So what I am attempting to show is that if we look at the spectrum of rates, and if we know that downtown office buildings, which have always been considered the least risky because of the type of tenant they get, the multitude of tenants they get, and that's why their cap rates are at 6%. And if we then progress to the B buildings, lesser quality tenants in the downtown again, lesser quality tenants, you don't get the national tenants the way you do necessarily. You'll get some, but you don't get predominantly national tenants as you do in the A buildings. So a somewhat higher risk, frequently the location not quite as good, amenities not quite as good. So those are at 6.75. And now we go to the B buildings. And, you know, if you put a bank in a suburban building, let's just call it a suburban building for a moment, as opposed to an A or a B. If you put a bank in a suburban building, people are going to think that's pretty good and it's going to be low risk. If you put a government in a suburban building, they're going to think that's pretty good and it's low risk. Never mind what the rents are, just the risk perspective because of the quality of those covenants. When you start getting into private tenants, the quality of the covenant is nowhere nearly as good. And that's why in the charts, you see the suburban A and the suburban B, what the brokerage firms are reporting. And again, remember what I've said about Colliers, but the low end, even with Colliers adjusted upward from 6 to say 6.25, the low end is Colliers at 6.25, CBRE at 7, Cushman Wakefield at 6.75. That's the low end for what they're calling a B building. This isn't a B building. I'm going to throw it into a miscellaneous category. And that's why I'm saying, looking at the progression of risk and the spectrum of rates, that's why I put it at 6.85. So when you say they're no good to us as comparables, they are good in the sense that they reflect the progression of risk through different qualities of building. That's what I'm saying to you.
Thank you. Expanding on that progression of risk, the length of a lease in a particular building is going to be or could be an expression or an indication of risk.
It could be.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And both of these leases are, what, 20 years, 15 years? Is that
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, expiring in 2034 and 2033. Yeah. Okay. So that's an indication that there's perhaps less risk involved in with these tenants.
Well, it reflects a couple of things, I'll suggest. That's one possibility. Another possibility is that it's expensive to outfit facilities of this type. And the tenants need to know that they've got the security of being able to use those premises over a lengthy period of time because of the cost of improving those premises.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Thank you. Either party want summation?
No.
No? All right. So we'll move on to 225 Bond Street. Madam Assessor, whenever you're ready.
file number 22-3320, roll number 120-936-96000. We are valuing the property as it stands of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal is respect to the amount of the assessed value only, based on evidence in this report, in this assessor opinions, that market value of subject property as April 1st, 2021 is $2,057,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is medical office situated on land area of 4,548 square feet with six-floor building with gross floor area around 23,000 square feet and leasable area 15,962 square feet. This building sale history was in 2001, 2004. Let's look on subject leases. We have six-floor leases, 201 in main floor. If started 200, it's second floor and so forth, and keep going. So we have leases started in 2018, months to months, in 2017 for $20.92. We have lease started in 2016. It's already $20.97. We can lease on 404 medical 2018 for $23.29. So all leases area 17,266 square feet. We assess less than 16,000 square feet and rent per square foot overall $17.33. On same page number 2, we can see a red dot where is building located. It's in downtown area. On page 3 and 4, more subject property view. Let's come to page number 5. All leases, I presented 9 leases. I tried to pick leases close to the subject property in downtown, and I presented a different type of building, medical building and OFC. You can see 1 to 4, it's medical building, Pembina and Fort, and another 5 to 9, Fort, Portridge, Broadway, Portridge, it's a OFC building. My 9 comparable showed that mean $18.09 in media, $18 per square foot. Let's look on my leases photo of building. We go into page number 17. One building on 756 Pembina, I presented 2 medical space. Leases between 1.3 thousand and 2.3 thousand square feet at $18. Another leases comparables on page 18, 400 Pembina Highway. It's medical lease in May 2020, around 5,000 square feet for $16.90. We can for 164 Fort. It's very old building in downtown, 1-floor building, lease in 2014 for $15.50. This lease for 10 years until 2025. So I try to find leases specific in downtown, 195 Fort, lease in 2017 for $16.35. On 275 Portridge, lease for $21.45 in 2014. Another lease on page 22, 287 Broadway, lease in 2018 for 10 years for $16.40. In my lease on page 23, 294 Portage Avenue, lease for $20. One lease for 4.4 thousand square feet, $20, and another lease 1.3 thousand square feet for $20 as well. If you're going back to my summary page, we can see that my 9 leases on Pembina, Fort Portage, Broadway, mean at $18 per square foot. Let's go subject property market income on page number 6. We assess less than 16,000 square feet with overall rent $16.90. It's fair and very well supported by my comparables. We apply 18% vacancy loss. Downtown medical space, we apply more vacancy loss. We expenses 3%, shortfall $10 per square foot for vacant space. And our overall capitalization rate 8.6%. Let's go check what we're going to page number 24. Model selected 8.6% capitalization rate. How our model generated, if we can capitalization rate. Direct capitalization method is used to convert a property single years in commercial income as indication of value by dividing the estimated net operating income estimated by an appropriate capitalization rate. Capitalization rate can be derived from properties that have sold by dividing each property net operating income by its sale price. For 2023 general assessment, April 1st, 2021 reference date, capitalization rate were divided from model generated estimates of net operating income and sale prices that were time adjusted to April 1st, 2021. The assessed value produced by the application of those model generated capitalization rate were compared to sale price and assessment to sale price ratio were calculated. The resulting ratio statistic for the assessment taxation department income producing model satisfy the standards specified and set forth in Standard of Ratio Studies approved by April 2013, published by the International Association of Assessing Officers. ATD capitalization rates are further supported by comparison with real estate market report from Colliers International Canada, CBRE National Research, and Cushman in Wakefield. The following chart compares ATD capitalization rate with the published rate by 1580s rates in the property type category use and use reports. Assessment taxation property type classes were more comprehensive, so they covered every property type in the city. The 2000 percentile to 80 percentile shows the range capitalization rate used by assessment taxation department for 60% to parcels within the specific property type. In many cases, the published rates falls with the 20 and 80 percentile, including the tenability of capitalization rate divided by ATD. So we have downtown B office right now. Our city 2080 percentile, it will be 6.75 to 6.75. Colliers showed 6 to 6.75. CBRE showed 6.5 to 7. In Cushman Wakefield showed 6.5 to 7. We did apply 8.5 specific for this property, so it's fair. Based on evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion, that the subject property, market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, $2,057,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Newman?
I just want to ask a question more generally about the assessment department processes. Is there a quality control process when properties increase by, for example, 100% in value? Do they automatically get checked by someone?
In our case, we estimate market value, before reference date came to our models numbers. We don't look how much change between assessment. And by the way, today we have assessment 1 for 2023 with reference day April 1st, 2021. We don't compare with previous assessments.
So you're telling us there is no quality control process whereby the percentage change in assessment from one cycle to the next is looked at in any way. That's what you're telling us.
I'm telling us that our capitalization rate, what we estimate, it's what is it? It's satisfies the standards specified and set forth in the standards of ration studies approved by April 2014, published by the International Association of Assessing Officers. So our capitalization rate fall inside the standard study.
So that's the best answer to my question.
Correct.
That you can give us. All right. So let's look at page 2. You've listed the rents. Where did you get those rents from?
For income expense mailer.
And you're telling us that those are the net rents, correct?
Correct.
That's what you're telling us.
Correct.
Yes. And I'm going to suggest to you those are not the net rents. And that if you're telling us those are the net rents, you are either mistaken or you are misleading us. Which is it?
Okay, page, please open page. I attach income expense mailer where I took this rent. Let's look at page 13 and 14. On page 13, if we look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 column from the top, it showed a net lease, and we can see across net lease. It's a clean net leases.
Which tenant are you speaking of?
To example, if we can look on tenants first 101, and we have owner occupy, no. We have step up lease, no. And we have lease, net lease, X, correct.
What about the second tenant? 103, CF Enterprises. What does it say there?
Enterprise, it's lease months to months. And when we see owner occupy, not, step up, not, but net lease, yes.
Read the rest of the line.
Only over base rent, see attached. Let's see attached.
Right, let's see attached.
Net lease of they occupy. And total 2029 total net rent. What I'm missing here?
Well, let me walk through what you are missing. So if you come back to your page 13 for a moment,
Mhm.
in the extreme right-hand column for this tenant, the annual base rent is shown as $6,600, correct?
Correct.
Now, if we go to page 14 and we look at CF Enterprises, the second line down, there's in the middle, almost the middle of the page, there's a column called annual gross base rent. You see that?
Correct.
$6,600 for this tenant, same as the prior page, correct?
Correct.
Then it says BY CAM. Any idea what BY CAM stands for?
You are leading us through.
Sorry? Do you know what BY CAM stands for? I'll suggest it stands for base year CAM. And CAM means common area costs. Do we agree?
Correct.
The next column is BY tax. I'll suggest to you that means the base year property tax. So I'll suggest to you that what is happening here is from the $6,600, the base year CAM of $2,865 and the base year taxes of $289 are being subtracted to get to the net base rent. And then when you look at the end of the row, the net base rent is telling us that the net rent is actually $10.34 and not, as you suggested in your brief, $19.82. Do we agree?
Yes, now I see that our first line 101 optical, it's a net rent $13.25. Rest was gross, but average $11.21.
Okay. So, and again, just so we're clear, this is the December 2021 statement you've included, isn't it?
Correct.
It's not the statement that should be in your brief, is it?
Correct.
You do this on purpose?
No, I just speak last one in compare income expense mailer.
Well, why would you do that? That's not going to be the year before the reference date. All right, let's let that go. Look at page 15 of your brief. Are you there?
Yes.
What's the vacancy?
We already acknowledge that I took 2025 4 years. We ignore this evidence from my case. We can cross this income expense mailer.
Are you saying you now want to ignore this? Is that
Yeah,
what you're...
because it's post-reference. You're right. I attached wrong income expense mailer. It should be 2020.
All right.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah, I'm right. So let's come back to page 2. Do we agree that your rents that you were telling us are all net rents are not in fact all net rents?
Only my first Westworth optical net rent list of gross rent, we establish it.
Okay. Let's go to your page 5. This is your comparables.
Correct.
And actually, let's come back a step. This building is classified as OFM, correct?
Correct.
Why?
It's medical office.
It's medical office. My office is in a building at 360 Portage which I think has about 600,000 square feet in it. I know there are a couple of dentists and doctors in the building. It's not classified as a medical building. It's classified as Class A office. Why is this building classified as medical?
Because it's occupied by medician, it's medical office cleaning, built in 1965, 6th-floor building.
So let's look at your page 2. You've got a listing of tenants. How many of them are doctors or dentists or medicals of some kind?
We have optical, we have wellness center.
Oh, you're counting a wellness center as a doctor's office?
Yes,
see.
we have David Matas, it's doctor.
David Matus is a lawyer.
Okay. But it's our medical office because it's medical invite.
All right.
Page on 5th floor, we have medical people, Dr. Teres, Dr. Marias. We have on 4th floor, doctors Shao Shi, on 4 Dr. Langan. So it's a medical major.
Right. Have you calculated how many square feet the doctors actually occupy? Not the wellness center, actual doctors?
No.
All right. Coming to your comparables, page 17. This is a one-story strip mall on Pembina, correct?
Correct. And we have medical space for $18 per square foot.
Yes. This is where the Board of Revision used to have its office at one time, correct?
No answer.
No answer. Okay. And your page 18 is also a single-story building, correct?
Occupied by medicals as 2020 for $16.90.
Yes.
5,000 square feet. I was looking not for building, I was looking for medical leases.
Okay, but my question is a simple one. Is it a one-story building?
It's for lease. We don't look how many store, we look for space. Or my comparables, 9 comparables, it's medical occupied space.
In your experience, do standalone buildings occupied by a single tenant,
Usually owner occupied space, yes.
are they considered more valuable in the marketplace?
No answer. It's for capitalization rate estimation.
No answer.
For my medical space specific occupied by doctor, all my comparables
Yes.
showed $18 per square foot.
Okay.
For medical space occupied.
All right. Page 21. This building, this is the former Burke's building, isn't it?
Page which? 21.
The Burke's building, corner of Portage and Smith.
My
Burke's
comparables from 15 to 6, I try to show different type of building space and specific in downtown. I just to search how downtown doing compared to Pembina. It's in same range.
The rent of $21.45 a square foot. Is it net in your opinion?
It's it's space. It's not medical, but it's space in downtown.
Is the rent a net rate?
It's net.
You're sure?
I am sure.
Okay. Who occupied that building? Did the Winnipeg Land Titles Office take a lease of the entire building?
Correct.
The province of Manitoba? If I said to you it's a gross lease, not a net, would you agree?
No.
No, you wouldn't. Okay. 294 Portage. You're showing at page 23, you're showing us two $20 rates. Are those net or gross?
It's net leases.
Are you sure?
Our record showed it's net leases.
If I tell you that I represent the owner of this building and I have done this appeal for consecutive cycles, and if I tell you that almost every lease in the building is gross, will that cause you to change your opinion?
You can, in this case, I still have medical for comparables. 750 Pembina, 400 Pembina, 164 Ford. It's a lease between $16 to $18 per square foot, and we assess it $16.19. It's fair inside my range.
Okay, let's go to page 24. You read to us most of what's on that page, the capitalization rate information. The second paragraph talks about the fact that capitalization rates are derived from model-generated estimates of net operating income.
Correct.
So in this case, the model-generated estimate of net income would be $176,000, correct? Your page 6, that's the model-generated net operating income, correct?
We have capitalization rate estimated for subject property 8.6%, correct?
That's not what I asked you. My question is the net operating income of $176,870 in this property is model generated, correct?
Potential rent, correct? Model generated.
Right. And the capitalization rate is also model generated, correct?
Correct.
Did you review before you prepared your brief for this hearing the actual performance of this property?
We established today that I put post-reference income expenses mailer.
Did you review the performance of the property before preparing your brief from both a net operating income and vacancy perspective?
I just support our model generated income, market income on page number 6 in my briefs. I did review, but wrong years.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Davidson, questions of the assessor?
I think I just would like to seek a little bit of clarification. So you're indicated that this is classed as a medical office and coded an OFM.
Correct.
Okay, and then in terms of the cap rates, we just got some, explanation there. But is it falling within downtown B office or off the chart for the city of Winnipeg?
If you see on our chart, it's a 20 percentile to 60 percentile. Only 16% of property inside 6.75 to 6.75, but this building outside this percentile, we apply 8.6%.
So is it like when you look at your chart though, like the other one prior, you were indicating it was modeled using an office suburban B. What are you using? An office downtown B?
Downtown B, but it's only for 60% properties. Major of them going 6.75, but this property outliers 8.6%.
Okay, and then just on your page, let's see which page number it is here. Number 2, with the list of the actual tenants in the building, and I'm noting there's a lot of vacancies in here. like it does appear that there really aren't very many medical dental, except for these tiny spaces that you pointed out, like Dr. Shi at 993, Dr. Langan at 730. The big spaces being an optician, which is, it's really an open space with just a bunch of eyeglasses or whatever. I'm not sure what a wellness center is. So if these aren't like how you would define medical dental, like they're not licensed or they're not doctors. So one would assume that the configuration of their offices aren't the same as, say, like David Matus's office isn't structured the way a doctor's office would be, I would assume.
If you open page 13, we can see primary use. To example, number 4, it's specific medical. We have medical on 4th floor, medical on 5th floor, and 2-floor medical. And it start to change to offices.
Yeah,
And you
I'm
can
not
see
debating that.
several empty space. That's why usually we apply 5.5% vacancy. But in our case, for this specific property, we apply 18% vacancy.
Okay, but I was only noting that the ones that are deemed medical or dental are very small square footage, like their offices are tiny.
Yes, usually 500, 1,000 for doctors.
Okay, but overall, it's classified as medical dental, regardless of
Yes,
the
up
break.
now, yes, correct.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what the situation is. And then, oh yes, almost forgot, on the comparables on page number 5, these are, you indicated, are medical dental classified as medical dental, right?
I specific put property type classes for
Right.
comparable specific medical.
But when you're looking under
OFM and
with-
OFS, it's already office spaces, but for old building in this area and very
Sure.
close to the subject property.
Okay. I'm just really just wondering because they're addresses. So when you look under the addresses, similar to what you did for this major property with the actual tenants, are they all like medical dental offices?
4 comparable specific medical offices. 5 to 8, it's OFC property type. It's a office space, but downtown, this type of building.
Okay. So then if you're using so you use the office, whether it's downtown or suburban, depending on the property, as your closest estimate of a medical office, right? You don't have a subclass.
No, if you look on my 4 comparables, it's between $15.50, $16 to $18. And our overall for this type of for this subject property, $16.90. I showed that our market model generated rent inside. I showed my comparable showed that it's fair between $16 to $18 per square foot.
So would you get a different rent on this property if you weighed it in terms of the wellness center or the lawyer's office or the Premier Realty versus the doctors that are located in here? Like, would you come up with a different rent?
That's why I provide 5 through 9 comparables, and they showed rent between $16 to $21. So it's still around $18 in men.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if we change OFM to OFC, it will be same model generated rent. I just try to broad and see if it's right estimation. I tried what I'm doing, try to support our model driven market income.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laurie. Ian, questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank
Okay,
you.
I just have a couple here. On your first sheet, you talked about the leasable area. And it's 15,962 square feet, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I look at the subject property leases and it totals up 17,266. There's about 1,300 square feet difference between leasable and what you're saying in here for the area subject square feet. So I'm just trying to, when you do an evaluation for a subject property, don't you look at the potential, and you can include all the square footage, not which. And so you're contradicting yourself here because you have 17,266 square feet, and yet you're saying you only have 15,962 square foot of leasable property. So what I'm saying is that your gross potential should be a lot higher.
Yes, because gross floor area 23,000 square feet reported 17,000.
Which
assessed
affects
16,000.
which affects your gross income and also affects your net income.
But
Minor,
now,
it's minor, but if I look at a cap rate for the square footage and times it by $16.49, it comes to like 21,500. You cap that at your rate, that's a difference of $250,000. So where are we wrong here?
our record showed 16,000 square feet today, and income expenses showed 17,000 square feet. Because leasable area change constantly, we cannot following every years.
All right.
Usually doctor won't occupy 2 space on 1 space, inside wall moving constantly. But if you divide 1,000 by difference right now by 17,000, it's only 5.7%. It's not a big deal here.
The difference is like 1,300 square feet.
Yes, it's only 5% difference.
I'm talking about, you have a potential gross income of 21,500, and take off expenses, etc. But I just looked at, if we cap it at what the city's doing, it's $250,000.
Yes, if you will apply 17,000, our assessed value will be higher.
Right.
Yes, we already on the minimum range for this assessment.
So the way it should be done is that you should gross up and then hit it with the 18% vacancy rate.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Newman, you're ready for your presentation.
Where to start? So this building has a problem. It is located on Bond Street, opposite the Bay Parkade. It is out of the way in the sense of being downtown. It's on the periphery. It has a long history of difficulty, unfortunately. And so if you look at page 2 of my brief, you'll see in a box, I've given you the vacancy going back about 15 years. And if we add to that the assessor's 2021 information, which sometimes she wants it out and sometimes she wants it in, a 44%, this building's got significant issues. I'll get to that in a more detailed way in a moment. What I am telling you is the major problem with this building is that the model treats it as an OFM, and it's not. And because the model is treating it as an OFM, we're getting rents in the $16, $17, $18 range. And this building isn't getting those rents, pure and simple. And that's at the heart of the problem with this building. Now, the assessor says, that's why I gave you as part of my comparables, number 1 to 4, which are OFM. But then I also gave you number 5 through 9, which are OFC, because OFCs also generate rents in the $16 to $21.45 range. So it's all okay. Even if you called it an OFC, we'd still have rents over $16. That's essentially what she's telling you. And with respect, that's nonsense. And here's why it's nonsense. First of all, the assessor's comparables, 276 Portage, the former Burke's Jewelers building, land titles does a lease. It is not $21.45 net. I spoke with the property manager on Friday, who has managed this building since it was acquired in 2014. They developed the building, did the lease to the province of Manitoba. If any of you are familiar with government leases are never net. There's always expenses that are not recovered. That's the first observation I'll make. The second observation I'll make is about 294 Portage. I have been doing 294 Portage since 2018. I am far too familiar with the building. It's 100,000 square feet of building. The Somerset building is what 294 Portage is, so immediately adjacent to the Radisson Hotel, between the Canada Life Center and the Radisson Hotel. Almost every single lease in that building is gross. And I have a piece of rebuttal evidence for you, which is the listing brochure from Colliers from 2019 with the asking rate of $9.50 per square foot net. And I'll put that in at the end of this process. But all I am saying to you is, and I'll tell you one more thing. The city model assigned a rent of $11.20 a square foot for 294 Portage as the model rent. I've done the appeal of the building already this cycle. That was the assigned rent, $11.20 a square foot. So when the assessor tells you these buildings, even if it's a C, it'll be over $16, not so. And the last thing I'll tell you, and I don't know if any of you have sat on any of the Class A or Class B office buildings yet, but the city is bringing forward a study. The study's done by Jeremy Pohl. He considers it to be the pièce de résistance of analytics of downtown office buildings. The average rent reflected in that study for a Class B office building is $14. So this suggestion that we get over $16 in this building if we called it a C is flat out wrong. Now, I'll say it one last time only and not again. I don't know why this assessor keeps putting in 2021 material. Bluntly, it doesn't help her position. It helps my position. So I can only assume it's a mistake and not intentional, but it keeps happening. Twice in this docket, it's happened with me once before. So what are we going to do with the rents in this building? Well, and I got a lot of attachments attached here. Maybe what I should do is take you through the attachments first, because I think that really tells the story. Let's go to page 8. Lovely photo. That's the Bay Parkade. The red building is the subject property. So there you can see it's on Vaughan. There's a street level view of the building. Again, Vaughan is a one-way street northbound except for buses, which can go southbound in that lane. There's the original assessment at page 10. We've heard lots about that. There's my workup at page 11. I will come back to that, but I have used $11 a square foot. I've used a 25% vacancy. I've used a $10 shortfall. I've used 7%, and you'll hear why from me in a moment in more detail why I've used 7%, and I've used a 9% cap to arrive at a value of $992,000. And as I show you the rest of the things I'm about to show you, I want you to keep something in mind. Each of you have won the lottery. Each of you have got $5 million in your pocket, and you've decided you want to invest in real estate. Think about whether any one of you, in light of what I am about to describe to you, would pay $2 million for this building. Think about it in light of what I am about to describe to you. Okay, so page 12 is the questionnaire from 2020. You can see a 36.7% vacancy. Let's keep going. Let's jump ahead to page 16. There's the net operating income in 2020. So what I've done is I've taken, you got $5,379 at the bottom of that page. I put back the debt service of $14,662. $20,041 is the net operating income in 2020. How does $2 million sound now? Page 17. I don't want to belabor this. Clearly, the assessor got it wrong about whether these were gross leases or net leases. I've got highlighted, I believe, the only over base year. So I think we're clear on that. Page 18. This is the same sheet we looked at in the assessor's brief, but this one is for 2020. So I think I've got an arrow going up to the number $75,908. Do I? Hopefully, yes. That is the base year CAM. So that is the common area maintenance expenses that this landlord does not recover from tenants because it is built into their lease. That becomes a non-recoverable. We'll get back to that. Decided is the base year tax, $9,378 not recovered from tenants. The average rent in 2020 circled. The average net rent is $10.71 a square foot. Page 19, there's the vacancy of 36.7%. This property manager actually does a wonderful job with their information. It's very detailed in terms of how it's calculated. So you can see the 36.7% vacancy. And then on page 20, you can see the vacancy cost based on the average rent of $10.71 per square foot. So you can see what the landlord is not recovering. Let's jump ahead. Page 23. That's the 2020 statement again. I've already spoken to you about that. Page 24. Here's the 2019 statement. negative $3,060 at the bottom. I'm putting back $571 of commissions. I don't think I have to, but I am. And I'm putting back $15,936 of debt service. The net operating income is $13,477. Page 25, 2018. The net income, $20,567. Page 26, 2017. The net income, $40,319. Page 27, 2016. The net income, $17,045. 2015. The net income, $51,000. So you can see the net income has never been more than $51,000. The assessor's net operating income is $176,000. Vacancy, page 29, 36% in 2020, 35.75% on page 30 in 2019, 35.21% on page 31 in 2018, 29.8% in 2017. That's some vacancy history for you. Then I get to page 33. A decision of the municipal board from about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 75 Scurfield. I note with interest the assessor was Ms. Scheibel. So what was the issue in this case? The issue in this case was a building which has had significant vacancy. And so what did the board decide? Let's jump ahead to page 40. This building doesn't have average vacancy. I acknowledge 18% is better, but I don't think it's good enough. Now we'll talk through what this decision says. So what this decision does, first of all, it makes reference to a number of earlier board decisions where significantly higher vacancy allowances were either agreed to, 2 certificates of agreement at 30%, 2 board orders at 25%, another board order at 30.96%, and a 1% premium on the capitalization rate, and 2 municipal board orders at 35%. So here we had an average vacancy of 51% in this building in the 39 months leading up to the reference date. The agent asked for 25%, but also said because the vacancy is substantially higher, he wanted something additional on account of the cap rate because of the risk. And then if you jump ahead to page 43, here's what the board says. Under the heading vacancy rate. The board accepts all of the evidence submitted by the owner regarding the scope and amount of the actual vacancy rate. The board will follow the precedent set by the board. The board cannot ignore actual vacancy rates in making evaluation of income. The board accepts and agrees with the agent that a vacancy rate of 25% is a reasonable accommodation of an actual vacancy over 50% over 3+ years. No prospective purchaser presented with a large vacancy rate over this extended period of time, and recognizing how much effort went into the failed attempt to lease the property would pay full value. The potential income is not close to what is actually being collected. And then just further down the page under the heading capitalization rate, the board awarded a premium of 0.25% to take into account vacancy. Page 45, and I'm not going to belabor this, is another decision of the board in a case called Ono Restaurant. That's one of the cases where the board awarded 45%. Okay, let me pass this by. Page 54, roof report, June 17, 2020. Down at the bottom, roof area A6 is in poor condition. Core tests were done in 2008. At that time, it was found a significant portion of the roof was comprised of wet insulation. This roof has not yet been replaced. Drop down to the bottom of the page. The paragraph starts, the estimated cost for the current maintenance on roof B6 is $2,500. A wall mount ladder to area A7 is $5,000. If A6 is replaced with a sloped average R30 and modified bitumen membrane, the cost would be approximately $80,000. And so this was in 2020. The property manager has told me that they are hoping to do the roof next summer, and that the cost has now jumped up to about $140,000. That's the roof. Let me jump you ahead to one more thing, page 65. The asbestos report. This building is full of asbestos. It was used for fireproofing. If you look at page 67, there's the summary. It was looked for fireproofing. Parging cement contains asbestos in a variety of areas, and the drywall joint compound also contains asbestos. And I tell you this only simply because, of course, asbestos is a very difficult problem to solve. So I decided to show you all of my attachments first, which is not typically the way I do it because I think it tells the story. Let's now come back to the text of the brief. I showed you the chart at the bottom of page 2 of the vacancy. I didn't include 2021 at 44%. I told you the vacancy average is 28.49%. If we included 2021, it would come up a little bit, not a lot. I tell you what the issues are. Then I move to the rent. Clearly, this is an out-of-the-way building. I know the assessor says there's lots of medical professionals in this building. I agree. Dr. Shi practices traditional Chinese medicine. It appears the office of Dr. John Langan may be permanently closed, and he may have departed for Roblin Avenue, or Street actually, Street Avenue. So there may actually be only 3 doctors or dentists or of that type in the building. It's not a medical building with respect, but even if it is, it doesn't matter because nobody's paying the rents like that. What the assessor has used the characterization of an office medical to do is create a model that creates a gross potential income which is much higher than the building can do. Vacancy on page 4, I've told you that story already. Page 5, net operating income. There's the list of net operating incomes going back over the years. Remember, the assessor's at $156,000. The roof, we've got a roof report from 2020 indicating the cost of even $100,000. That then goes into the non-recoverable issue. Page 6, non-recoverables. The assessor is using a non-recoverable allowance of, I actually said $28,000. That's not right. It's the shortfall that's $28,000. The 3% allowance of the assessor is $6,359. So you can't cover off $100,000 of roof with $6,359 a year, together with $75,000 of non-recovered CAM and $9,378 of non-recovered tax. Therefore, I've used 7%. The capitalization rate, I don't think we have as much to talk about because we're not as far apart. The assessor is at 8.6%. I am saying based on the municipal board decision, there has to be something added to it. And so at the end of the day, if you'll now jump to my page 11, there's my calculation of value, $992,000, $11 rent, 25% vacancy, 7% non-recoverable, 9% cap rate. And I ask you again to think about, as I did earlier on, you've got $2 million in your pocket. Are you paying $2 million for this building? Those are my submissions.
Thank you, sir. Questions of the applicant?
Yes, please. Page 4, rental rate. 3 and 4. You haven't made any market rent study. You use just...
Can I just stop a second? I just reminded myself. I have the rebuttal.
Yes.
That I need to put in. Let me put the rebuttal in and then maybe the question can be asked. How should we do it?
Let's deal with the questions here and then we'll go into the rebuttal.
Fine.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So page 3 and 4 on agent brief, rental rate. You haven't provided any market evidence for rent, correct?
So in my evidence, I have indicated that the rents at 294 Portage, the model used by the city was $11.20. As part of my rebuttal, you will see evidence of the asking rate of $9.50 a square foot for that building.
So you use only rent Current rent is the subject property, correct?
Primarily, yes.
No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Davidson,
I have no questions, thank you.
thank you. Mr. Mahone,
I have one question with respect to the parcel use or the class code. Has there been any application to change this? And the reason I asked this away from the medical is because I looked at page 65 of your attachments, I think that's the asbestos report by patient, and they refer to it as the dental arts building. Is that just the name of the building, or is that
that's the history of the building. Back in 1965, when it was built, it was full of dentists.
Okay.
That's the history. But your question was, why don't you apply to change the classification?
Or has anyone applied to change?
Well, certainly we've had this debate in the past about whether the building, and let's be clear, classification in terms of a property use code, which is really what the city is calling an OFN, that's a use code, is different than classification as residential or class code 60T other. Those are different.
Yes.
I can't apply to change a use code. I can try and persuade the assessor that they're improperly characterizing the use of the building and they should no longer consider it to be medical, but I can't apply to change that.
Thank you.
all right, we're going to deal with the rebuttal. I'm not sure whether it's loaded or not.
Students, just
Loaded, okay. So what we'll do is we'll go to the rebuttal. Mr. Newfield, so just Newfield, Newman.
I'm sorry, can I have rebuttal as well?
yeah, I send you an email, Ms. Chabal.
Okay.
We're starting that again.
Okay, where do we find it, Jazz? Here?
It's the third item, just
Oh,
below the
okay.
applicant's,
Okay.
address. Yeah.
So panel members, it's the third item. It's applicants. It's the third item.
What's it called? It's not.
It's
called
just it's the third item there. It's under applicants.
Just underneath the applicant's brief.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a pamphlet.
You got it, Ms. Chabal?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Newman.
So it's a simple item. And I think it's really been addressed already. It's a Collier's listing brochure for 294 Portage. And what it shows clearly is the asking rate of $9.50. And that was really the sole point I wanted to make with it. And it's there because I didn't know how the discussion about, because the assessor continues to believe that the $20 rates she has cited for 294 Portage are net rents. I'm telling this panel, having represented that building owner, the rents are not net $20 a square foot generally in that building. And there's the listing brochure. And admittedly, it's from 2019. And the reason I know that is because it's using a 2018 estimate for the operating costs. They try and work with a base year in that building. And as I told you, the assessor model used $11.19. And so at the end of the day, that's the sole reason that was intended to be there. But it also serves as an indication of what older buildings are getting by way of rents. And that's the sole purpose.
Well, thank you. Madam Assessor, any questions in regards to the rebuttal?
No, thank you.
Okay. Panel members, any questions? No,
Thanks.
you have a rebuttal to the rebuttal? Madam Assessor?
No.
No? You don't have a rebuttal? No?
No.
Okay. Summation needed, party?
No summation.
No. Let's take about a 5 or 10 minute break. We'll shut it down and let's reconvene at about 3:05. All right. Call the hearing back to order. And the next Item up is 1425 Cordon. Madam Assessor, whenever you're ready, you can take us through your property.
File number 22-3319, roll number 12050516000. We are valuing the property as a stance of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition of April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, it is assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $2,457,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is a medical office, two-floor building built in 2015, situated on land area of around 14,000 square feet, gross area 9,854 square feet, and leasable area 8,473 square feet. On page number 2, we can see subject property leases. On units 102, Grama Dynacare Medical Laboratory, leases start in 2015 at 723 square feet at $24, and lease on 201 Tuxedo Medical Clinic for 2,600 square feet, lease in 2015 at $25. On second floor, 201 Caridon Dental Center, 4.7 thousand square feet, lease in 2015 at $22.16. And River Heights Pharmacy lease at 910 square feet in 2015 at $25. The subject property located on Caridon. It's southwest part of the city. On page number 3 and 4, more photo of subject property. On page number 5, I presented 16 medical dental rent comparables. They showed mean of $23.13 and media of $23.50. Let's look on my comparables. We're going to page 14. First, my comparables, one floor building on 717 Harrow Street, lease for 10 years, start in 2013 and $25. On page 15, a lease on 1190 Taylor Avenue at $26 per square foot for 4.5 thousand square feet. Another lease for 1,150 square feet, $23. On page 16, for leases on 3360 Roblin. Okay, first lease October 21 should be crossed, it's post reference. Second lease unit 6, lease started in 18 for $26 on second floor of building for $16. It's 8.2 thousand square feet of area. And another lease 950 square feet start in 2019 for $19 per square foot. On page 17, we have 395 Stafford Street. Lease started in May 2021 for $25. On 18, leases on 2077 Pembina Highway between $20 to $25 per square foot. Let's go back to my table on page number 5. So my leases on Harrow, Taylor, Roblin, Pembina, and Stafford showed media of $23.50. We did assess property for 8,473 square feet, around $19 per square foot. We did apply vacancy loss 5.5%. expenses 3%, shortfall $8 per square foot for vacant space, in capitalization rate 5.85%. So our estimate value of $2,457,000 for the subject property of April 1st, 2021, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Newman, questions?
Page 19 of your brief. So this is the broker's capitalization rate chart and the City of Winnipeg information, correct?
Correct.
And again, as we've discussed previously, we have a range of capitalization rates from the brokers at the low end of 6%, at the high end of 7.75%. The city's 20th and 80th percentiles are 5.6 and 6.9%. And this building has been set at 5.85%, correct?
Correct. This building built in 2015.
And those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davidson,
I have no questions, thank you.
thank you. Mr. Mahone,
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I have none either. Mr. Newman, the floor is yours.
So the only issue I really want to address is the capitalization rate. I'm not contesting the rents or the vacancy or the shortfall. And indeed, let's jump into my attachments, and you're going to hear something similar to what you've heard before. So if we look at page 14, here is 1661 Portage, a Class A office building, again, as an example of what it is, Class A suburban. Then if we jump ahead to page 19, you've got the overhead photo of 1781 Wellington, and some information about that building, an example of what might be what I'll call a low Class A or a Class B. They describe it as a Class B in their material. But again, these are the types of buildings that fall within suburban A and suburban B. This building, they classify it as medical. At the end of the day, it's a building. It's a building in the suburbs like any other building. It's an office building. And, we see what the broker's rates are. Remember what I've said about Colliers in terms of their methodology of including the closing costs. And at the end of the day, I think a higher capitalization rate is appropriate for a property of this type. I've selected 6.85%. If you look at page 13 of my brief, you'll see that the assessor's gross potential income, vacancy, shortfall, non-recoverable are all the same as what I've used. The difference is the capitalization rate is increased and the value becomes $2,095,000 as opposed to the $2,457,000. So, we have a difference, I guess, of about $362,000 in value, and that difference is driven by the capitalization rate. Commercial properties, when we start to get into the 5 capitalization rates, starting with a 5, we're starting to get into multifamily capitalization rates, which have always been considered to be safer investments than commercial properties. And I just think a 5.85 is too low, as I've said. Progression of risk again, and looking at the comparable properties and the rates that are being set for the downtown office and then the suburban A and B. I think this building needs to be in that range. And so that's why the 6.85. Those are my submissions.
I thank you. Madam Assessor, any questions of Mr. Newman?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Davidson?
No question from me either.
Yeah.
I do have one with respect to series with respect to cap rates, perhaps. The 20th, 80th percentile, broker low, high, broker low and high B suburban. I'm looking at page 9 of your brief. The baseline that the city uses, or 20th percentile, is 5.6. The baseline that others are using are between 6 and 7. That's a fairly large spread between 5.6 and 7 in a baseline. Is there a particular number that we should be paying particular attention to give us a baseline for a new, we call this a new or newer construction in suburbs?
So what I would say to you is, first of all, the fives, and I'm going to digress for a moment. The fives that you see in the 5 point, the low end of the assessor's rate, the 5.6. When commercial buildings are being sold with a number starting with a 5, they tend to be small buildings that are being bought by owner occupiers. And whether they put it in a holding company and lease it to themselves, but it's that kind of thing. The metrics, the investment analysis that goes into a purchase of that type is completely different, because they're buying it for their use. Effectively, they're paying themselves rent because they don't want to pay a third-party landlord, and they think in the long term they're better off. And what we see frequently is it's built small buildings like that are acquired. The model generates an NOI, and of course, the model generates a cap rate. But it's a completely different metric. When we get to buildings like this, your question is, where should the baseline be? And my answer is, again, acknowledging what I've said about Colliers and their methodology. So if you take the low end of Colliers at being, say, 6.25, what you've got is a range of 6.25 to 7.75. I put this building at 6.85. That's a little bit towards what I'll call the low side of the range. It's not smack in the middle, but it's a little closer to the low side. Candidly, could it be a bit lower? Could it be 6.5? Would 6.5 to 6.85 be an appropriate range? I think the answer is yes. I think an investor might look at it through that lens and say, okay, I can live with that from an investment perspective. But that's where I would put the baseline, in that range.
Thank you.
Information to this party?
No.
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 All right, Mr. Newman, thank you for your presentations and results very soon.
Thank you, everyone.
And have a pleasant day.
And to all of you.
Ryan, you may proceed up here. We'll get you either affirmed or sworn in. Thank you, Mr. Newman.
Thank you all.
But I'm able to get set. Get it going.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Brian Oliveros.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Madam Assessor, we're going to go to 1835 Gordon. The floor is yours.
File number 221808, roll number 120731430000. We are valuing the property as a stand of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021, 829,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is medical office, two-story, built in 2003, a suite on land area of 6,397 square feet, gross floor area 5,097 square feet, and leasable area 4,989 square feet. On page number 2, subject property existing leases. We have first 4,758 square feet occupied by the owner. We can see lease for 128 square feet in 2020 for one of the doctor, $24.95. Another lease for 103 square feet for $25.78. Subject property picture below started on page number 2. It's located in Caridon. It will be southwest side of the city if you divide in 4 pieces. The subject property more photo on page 3 in number 4. Street view. It's a regular shape of land, curve. On page number 5, I have presented 17 comparables, like previous case. It's our mean of $24 per square foot. Let's go to my leases. We're going to the page 13, medical, dental, rental comparables. First and 17 Harrow Street, a lease for $25, 3,000 square feet. Another comparables on page 14. It's a one-floor building, shopping mall, 1119 Taylor Avenue, lease for 4,526 square feet and $26. Another lease in 2014 for 1.8 thousand square feet and $33. On page 15, 3360 Roblin, first lease on units 2 plus cross, it's post reference. Another 3 leases between $26 and $16 on second floor, 200 units. A lease on 16 page 1425 Caridon, just previous building under appeal for $25. Another lease for $24 per square foot on second floor. It's 2-floor building. In my last leases on page 17 on 10 2077 Pembina. It's leases between $20 to $25 per square foot. If you're going back to my summary page, on page number 5, I guess. Yeah, page number 5, 17 comparables. Harrow, Taylor, Roblin, Caridon, and Pembina showed mean of $23.80 and media $24. Subject property market income on page number 6. We did estimate leasable area 4,989 square feet. We used $10.90 per square foot. So our potential rent over 54,000 square feet. We did apply 5.5% vacancy loss, but building full occupied. We apply expenses 3%. Shortfall $8 per square foot for vacant space. and our capitalization rate 5.75% give us estimate value of 829,000. Its market value of subject property is April 1st, 2021. And this value should be confirmed, the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Ryan, questions of the assessor?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Shable, looking at your cap rate evidence here, I see that we agree on essentially all parameters here, except for the cap rate and of course the non-recoverable expenses. So on your cap rate evidence, the city's cap rate evidence here says that the 20th and 80th percentiles of suburban A office buildings is between 5.6% and 6.9%. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and for suburban B, it is also stated to be 5.6% and 6.9%. Is that correct?
Correct.
Typically for B class offices, looking at the broker reports here, would you agree that the cap rates applied for suburban B offices should typically fall in the higher range?
Our City of Winnipeg 2080 percentile showed 5.6 to 6.9%. We did apply 5.75%. It's inside our range. It's 60% of all properties fall in this range. It's inside this range. It's fair.
Okay. The 20th percentile of both suburban A and suburban B is below the cap rate stated by Collier, CBRE, and Cushman and Wakefield, correct?
And we can see that Collier's from 6% to 6.75%. Yes.
Okay.
And 7 to 7.5. But our study showed 5.6 to 6.9, 60% of the properties.
Okay. For the subject property, what has the model categorized the subject as? Suburban A or suburban B? There's nothing here stating for medical office, correct?
It's often office medical building, suburban.
Suburban. Okay, so where are we classifying? Has the model classified as suburban A or suburban B?
No.
I maybe misunderstood the question. Has the model classified the subject property as suburban A or suburban B?
It's not relevant. Subject the model generate $10.90 for this type of building, medical building, and my comparable show $24 per square foot. It's fair.
Okay, I'm asking about the cap rate though, Ms. Shable. So you're saying your cap rates aren't relevant to the subject property?
If you see a City of Winnipeg chart on page number 18, suburban A and B, same cap rate, 5.6 to 6.9.
Okay.
And our cap rate 5.75% inside this range.
Have you visited the subject property? Have you visited the subject property?
Okay. Although I have not expected it, the subject property I am able to completely accurately describe it based on the data we have on file.
Okay, but you haven't inspected the subject property, is that correct?
I physically don't have time to do it. I have less than 2 hours per case to prepare evidence.
Okay, but you've looked at photos of the subject property, correct?
Correct. And we can see photo starting on page number 2. You can see that it was a residential building transferred to medical office. Second floor occupied by owner. Medical office. And rent, if you look on page number 2 of my brief, only 2 small spaces, 128 square feet and 103 square feet. Rent in 2020 for around $25 per square foot, and we apply less than $11 per square foot. It's fair and should be confirmed.
Ms. Shable, I would disagree with your statement there that the owner only occupies the second floor. I believe they occupy. Actually, I just inspected the property. And I'm just
Office owner occupy 4,758 square feet on both floors.
Okay, so is it fair to say that if this building were to be leased out, even considering these two tenants here, that they'd have to lease out the whole building possibly to only one tenant?
Yes, if you open page 5 of my comparables, to example, comparables number 6, it's 8,205 square feet, rent for $16 per square foot. Another big comparables number 2, 4.5 thousand square feet, rent for $26 per square foot. Comparables number 10, 4.7 thousand square feet less for $24. We apply for area less than 5,000 square feet, less than $11 per square foot. It's fair.
Would you say that there may be a higher risk involved in leasing out a single tenant building, given the fact that if an owner were to try and lease out the property, they would have 0% occupancy and have to cover property taxes, utilities, etc., all by themselves, which would potentially increase the risk with owning a single tenant property?
Okay, whole property 5,000 square feet. Let's look on my comparables on page number 5. My second comparables close to 5,000 square feet, $26. Another big comparables number 6, over 8,000 square feet, $16. Another comparable number 10, 4.7 thousand square feet and $24. It's no risk here. It's
Maybe you could ask the question.
Yes. So, Ms. Shable, my question is with regards to the risk of the property. I don't question the rental rates that the city's model has applied in this case. But my question is, in a single tenant property, does being a single tenant property in and of itself carry some risk as the owner, if this building were vacant, would have to cover all utilities, maintenance costs, etc., all on their own, aside from getting rent from the owner or from a potential tenant? Sorry.
For this risk, we apply 5.5% vacancy, but building full occupied by years, we apply same vacancy. We're looking for 10 years. It's covered.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davidson, questions of the assessor?
Just a couple of minor ones. Are all the variables, like the values you came up with, are they all model generated?
On page number 6, everything model generated.
Okay, so like the rent, the vacancy, the expense,
Correct.
the cap rate are all model generated?
Correct.
Okay. Just another quick question. Looking back at the other ones that we presented earlier, your cap rate here is 5.75%. And before it was generally 5.85%. It's not a big difference, but I was just wondering why.
You can see that this building built in 2003 and previous 2015. It's age of building built up in cap rate as well.
So it's all attributed to the age?
Not just age, but it's one of attribution.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you. Ian, questions?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay. Ryan, the floor is yours. Your presentation for the property.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the subject property at 1835 Cordon Avenue, roll number 12-0731430000. The file number is 22-1808. I'm actually just going to skip over page 2 there and just move on to page 6 of my evidence. I provided an aerial photograph of the subject property as well as a photograph of the exterior. Now I have actually inspected this property. It was after the evidence due date, however. Regarding the description of the subject property here, so it is a wood frame structure located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Cordon Avenue and Lockwood Street and is used as a medical office building. The subject property is a part 1-story and part 2-story medical building, originally constructed as a dwelling. and then renovated and expanded in 2003. So what I had actually discovered in my inspection of the subject property was that the original building built on the site was actually knocked down to its foundation and rebuilt in 2003. So the gross floor area of the property is 5,096 square feet and has a leasable area of 4,989 square feet. The subject building has no elevator, which does limit the potential rental market for tenants on the second floor. In fact, precluding leasing to any tenants offering services to the public. As I said, though, we're not arguing the market rent for or the model, the city's generated model rent for the subject. The interior finish is unremarkable. I did pull this over from a previous brief. I don't typically use the words unremarkable, and is typical of standard office space and is considered suitable for general office use. Flooring, it generally includes a mix of carpeting, tile, and vinyl flooring. And the site can only accommodate 5 parking stalls. And in my inspection of the subject property, I did discover that the parking lot, I believe it is only for staff parking. So the subject site, it's irregular in shape, and the total site size, according to the city's records, is 6,533 square feet with C1 commercial zoning. Just going on to my analysis on page 11, again, we're not disputing the city's model rent of $10.90 per square foot. Based on my analysis, I do feel that they've captured the issues with accessibility of this building. Again, there being no elevator. The vacancy allowance, we've applied 5.5%, which is consistent with what the city has applied, a shortfall rate of $8 per square foot. For non-recovered expenses, we've applied a total of 7%. That is 2% for structural reserve and 5% stabilized allowance for non-recoverable expenses. For the cap rate, we've essentially, because we don't have any real cap rates there is one cap rate that we have in our cap rate study, but we've classified this as suburban office. That's the closest classification that we can give to this property. So for suburban offices, we found that the cap rates should range from 6.5% to 7.5%. So based on the above here, we're looking at the site size with the increased risk. Again, there's limited parking. The configuration and building layout, again, there's no elevator for the second floor. We do see that as an increased risk as well. And we've made no other adjustments for the factors here that I've listed on page 12. So based on these adjustments, we've applied a cap rate of 7.25%. Page 13 is my valuation summary. So the assessed value that we're asking the board to reduce the assessed value for the subject property to is $629,000. And the balance of my report are photos of the subject property. Now, these were taken by another agent in prior years' appeals. And I can say that the interior of the property has not changed much since then, or at all, actually, looking at these photos, comparing them with my inspection. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Davidson?
No questions, thank you.
Ian?
I have some questions about your cap rate. Just turning to page 12 on your report, please. The site-specific adjustments, the baseline, the lowest, your model as presented on page 12 allows for no cap rate below 6.5% for a suburban office.
That's correct.
That's regardless of age or condition or anything else.
Yes, that's the baseline cap rate.
Okay. And as a result of what you see as a site size, development potential, and a configuration building layout, you've added 0.75 basis points to the baseline.
Well, in considering these site-specific adjustments here, I do feel that the site size is a risk to the property, but I still feel it falls within that range. And regarding the development potential, these are from templates that we use, but essentially it's the site size that I'm concerned about here. There's limited parking on the site. And again, the configuration and building layout, we see that as a risk to the property. So based on what I've seen, I'm thinking that 7.25% is a fair cap rate in this case.
Okay, you said that the site size is a problem. What area from your modeling would not be a problem, or is that factored in?
What?
Hey, can you give me an estimate of what size property? You've got a land area here of almost 6,400 square feet. You said that requires an adjustment to your 6.5% base, presumably 37.5 basis points. Why?
Well, in looking at the building here, it could be the position of the property as well, which is why I see an increased risk here. Possibly adjustments isn't the right word for this property in this case, rather factors considered in applying an appropriate cap rate in this case, which we feel is 7.25%.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Okay, I thank you. Ian, Ryan, there's just one slight mistake on your page 14, and you talked about the 2023 real estate of 730. So that, in case you want to correct that, it should be
829,000.
829. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Other than that, I have no questions. Summary on either party?
No summary.
No, thank you.
Right, okay. We'll go to the next property, which is 395 Stafford Street. Madam Assessor, whenever you're ready, do you want to, talk about the liability, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So Madam Assessor, are you aware of the applicants seeking a change of class code?
Class code liability assessed value only. It's up to agent to provide information. We can give floor to the agent.
The onus, I believe she's indicating, should be on the agent with respect to this. I'm not sure that's entirely correct, but we have no evidence right now. Until we have any evidence, we can't really make a decision on that.
So if you want to make a presentation, that is fine.
Yes. And I believe that is actually correct. The onus would flip on to me.
Yes.
Regarding class code.
Yeah.
So
the floor is yours.
thank you. So regarding classification and liability, what I will ask the board and the assessor to flip to is page 9 of my evidence. So Section 8 of the Municipal Assessment Act for the classification of property and portion values. So Section 8B states that land and buildings or any portion of land and buildings that are exempt under subsection 23(1) of the Municipal Assessment Act from taxation for school purposes. So we are requesting a change in classification for this property from purely class code 60 to class code for split class code from 60 to 60 and 40S for school tax. Moving on to page 9, moving on to later on page 9 here, section 23(1)(e) of the Municipal Assessment Act states that subject to sections 25 and 26, real property is exempt from taxation for school purposes where the real property is owned by or is held in trust for and is used by a charitable organization primarily for the purpose of giving relief or assistance to aged indigent, or sick persons to a maximum exemption of 0.81 acres or hectares. So if you go to page 10 of my brief, the tenant that is currently occupying the second floor of this building is Imaginability. So the primary purpose and dominant activity of the organization is to provide day support services to adults living with an intellectual disability. And we can also see from their Facebook page here, I did also try to find an official webpage here, but they don't have one quite yet. They're still working on it. So Imaginability, again, it provides day support services to adults living with an intellectual disability. If you go on to page 24 of my evidence here, it does state that as of October 1st, 2022, Imaginability has taken over the space at 200-395 Stafford Street, and the space was vacant since Changes Supported Living vacated the space. Our initial application, we filed for the liability, for a change in liability exemption because of Changes Supported Living. But then we learned after that Imaginability actually took over the space as of October 1st of 2022. And the reason why I mentioned this is if you flip onto page 43 of my evidence, it does say here that Changes Supported Living is occupying the space, but I wanted to make it abundantly clear, but that Changes Supported is not occupying the second floor space anymore, and that it is Imaginability. I have further supporting documents here. On pages 20 to 23 of my evidence, which showcase the charitable initiatives that Imaginability takes, and they are a not-for-profit organization. What I also have is the charitable organization number on page 26 of my evidence. And page 27 shows the exemption or the school tax exemption that Imaginability was granted for another property here. So I have highlighted the sections I would like to turn the board's attention to here, and I'll read them each out. So section 1, starting on page 27, reads, "This is an appeal by the respondents, the city of Winnipeg, and the assessor for the city of an order mandamus granted by a judge in the Court of Queen's Bench. The reviewing judge requiring the tax collector for the state to correct the 2017 tax roll for the property leased by the applicant, Imaginability, to reflect the fact that it is exempt from school tax and to refund the school taxes paid for 2017 with interest." We go on to page 28 here. It says here as paragraph 4, Imaginability is a charitable organization that assists people with intellectual disabilities to obtain employment and to participate in other activities. Imaginability has operated out of leased premises in the city since October 2010. Under the terms of the lease, Imaginability is responsible for paying all municipal and school taxes assessed in connection with the property. Going on to paragraph 5 here, Imaginability was unaware until sometime in 2017 that it could claim an exemption from school taxes under section 23(1)(e) of the Municipal Assessment Act, which is the same portion of the act that I had referred to earlier in my presentation, which provides that real property is exempt from school taxes where it is owned by or is held in trust for and is used by a charitable organization primarily for the purpose of giving relief or assistance to aged, indigent, or sick persons to a maximum exemption of, again, 0.818 hectares. So accordingly, after it received its 2018 realty assessment from the city, Imaginability appealed the assessment to the Board of Revision, and it requested that the classification of the property be changed from fully taxable to school tax exempt, relying on, again, section 23(1)(e) of the Municipal Assessment Act. They also filed an appeal, and in January 18, Imaginability's 2018 assessment appeal was resolved, and the Board of Revision by order granted a school tax exemption for the 2018 taxation year following the joint recommendation of the assessor and imaginability. So given that this is a charitable organization, they do fall within sections 8 of the classification of property and portion values, which follows section 23(1)(e). And for that reason, we're asking that the classification for this property be split from class code 60 to 60 and 40S. And that concludes my presentation on liability.
Madam Assessor, comments?
Yes. According to new evidence provided to us by the agent, we are agreeing to split class for space occupied by manageability. I would like also mention that we will issue a supplementary assessment that will be coming out effective October 1st, 2022, when manageability occupied second floor of subject property.
Ms. Davidson?
I just need to clarify that. So they were receiving the school tax exemption in 2018 or prior to 2018?
This imaginability moved to this subject property October 1st, 2022. So we agree of school tax exemption.
So
And
sorry, they moved location or they just moved to the second floor?
They moved to this building on second floor.
So they weren't in this building before?
No.
Yes, so I'll offer clarification on that. So this decision that I was referring to from the Canley site here is actually for a different property that they own and occupy.
I see.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
So
that-
this is a space that they now just lease out, but they still occupy this property. The point I was trying to make was that they've been granted an exemption for
Before, so you're
for a property
suggesting
before,
it
so they
should
should
continue the same.
exactly. Yes.
So then they've only moved into this property to do it in this or in this location as well. This is new commencing in this assessment and tax year.
Exactly. Yes. They just moved in October of 2022. So
Okay,
that is why we're asking for the exempt portion now, because currently the property is under class code 60 only.
yeah, so this is, they've opened another location then basically.
Correct. Yes.
And they're
Apologies if I
running
didn't make that clear.
exactly the same program?
They are running exactly the same program.
And is it
To
full
my
time?
knowledge. Sorry.
Is it full time?
I
Like how many-
would assume so.
Do they have there each day?
I actually just drove by the property to see if imaginability was there. I'm not too sure how many people they have there. I requested income statements and floor plans and everything from the owner, but I just haven't received them to date, so.
I'm just wondering, are they operating every day or are they operating in exact same manner as the one that has the school tax exemption? Perhaps the assessor knows that.
It's a new information for us, and we agree on this split. Imaginability has a school tax exemption, and we can proceed with today's hearing, but it will be overdue by supplementary assessment effective October 1st, 2022, issued to the property owner.
So you're doing a supplementary assessment, school tax
Yes.
exemption.
Yes, because it's effect 2022. Right now, our appeal 2023. We're going back for a few months to implement this new notice of assessment.
So you're going to grant a school tax
Yes.
exemption on this property.
We will. In 2023, it will be already there.
So may we just have the estimated date as to when the sub would be issued? Would it be before 2023?
It will be effective October 1st, 2022.
Okay,
Is that consistent with what you're
Shortly, yes.
That is consistent with what I'm asking, and I believe we're in agreement now with the split class codes, so.
Ian, any questions?
No, I'm prepared, I'm satisfied that the assessor and the applicant have properly visited this matter.
All right. So we'll deal with quantum
Yes,
if you're in agreement.
yes,
Yep.
I would agree with that.
Madam Assessor, take us through this property.
File number
Yeah. Sorry.
file 221329. Roll number 12097503100 and address 395 Stafford Street. We are on the property assistant of January 1st, 2023, based on economic condition April 1st, 2029. This appeal with respect to the amount of the assessed value, but I already mentioned that it will be override by supplementary assessment. It will be a new appeal coming to us. But I can proceed. Based on evidence in this report, it is assessor opinion that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $1,573,000 and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is medical office built in 1976, suited of land of 12,129 square feet, gross floor area 7,318 square feet, and leasable area 6,005 square feet. The subject property has existing leases. First lease on units 101 signed in 2015 for 2,061 square feet at $25 per square foot. Another lease on on units 102 Stafford Pharmacy. Lease signed in 2015 for 672 square feet and $25 per square foot. Second floor occupancy was assessed, occupied 302,072 square feet and $12 up till today, up till October 1st, 2022. The subject property air photo of page number 2, red dot. It's located southwest of city. On page 3 and 4 more subject property photos. It's 2-floor building facing Stafford. First floor at medical occupied, second floor office space. So I provide 2 set of comparables. On page number 5, my medical dental rent comparables, 17 comparables with media of $24 per square foot. On page number 6, office rent comparables for second floor showed rent at $18 per square foot. My 12 comparables. Let's look on my comparables. We go into the page 16. Medical office comparable 717 Harrow Street. It's 1-floor building, 3,000 square feet, rent in 2013 for $25. 1190 Taylor Avenue, rent for $26. Rent of 3360 Roblin between $16 and $26 per square foot. 2-floor building, similar with the subject property 2-floor building. Dental office on 1425 Caridon Avenue on page 19, rent $24 per square foot. Another comparables on page number 20. 2077 Pembina, rent between $20 to $25 per square foot. On page 21, office building, second floor, rent on 19 Harrow, all second floor building, second floor units, rent between $18 to $18.50. Another comparables on page 22, and 1210 Pembina Highway for $20. Another comparable 1450 Caridon for $25. On 24 we have 1700 Caridon, rent between $13 to $18. Go back to my summary page. So market evidence shows the medical space rent for $24, office space rent for $18 per square foot. My assessment on page 7 for medical office, we apply $18.59 for 2,753 square feet. We apply 5.5% vacancy lost for medical dental offices space. We apply expenses 3%, shortfall $8 per square foot for vacant space. And our capitalization rate for medical space, 5.7%. Our estimation market income for medical space, 796,000. On page number 8, office space, we apply estimate 3,272 square feet and $15.63. For office space, we apply 6% vacancy, 3% expenses, shortfall $8 per square foot, in capitalization rate 5.8%. So our office space give us $777,000. On page number 9, a summary of both medical and office space. Our estimate value $1,573,000 is market value of subject property as April 1st, 2021. And that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Questions of the assessor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Cable, did you have a chance to review the rent roll for this property?
Could you repeat question, please?
Did you have a chance to review the rent roll submission for this property?
Income expense mailer, if you open page 11, I posted income expense mailer provided to us. On page 12, you can see partial occupied space, net income, net rent on page 12. All these leases on my page number 2, I took from page 13 of record provided to us. Income expense mailer returned to us.
So you'll agree with me then that the rent that the tenant at the time of the reference date was paying for this, the latest lease for this property, sorry, the latest lease for the second floor unit is $12 per square foot?
It was a record for previous tenants, correct?
Okay, at $12 per square foot, that's correct?
Yes, if you open page 2 of my brief, 200 space was occupied, change supporting living service was reported $12 per square foot.
And you'd agree with me then that second floor spaces typically rent for less when there's no elevator access?
That's why main floor rent for reported $25 and the second floor $12. Correct?
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Davidson?
I have a couple questions. just because I just need to clarify for myself. So is the second floor, is that assessed as imaginability being in there now?
It's assessed as office space where is a new owner and manageability move in, new tenants.
Okay, then I have a question. I know it's going back to the liability issue, but you said you're going to be issuing a supplementary for that.
Correct.
So that supplementary doesn't relate to the liability, it relates to what the assessment's gonna change? I'm just trying to be.
We will be create a taxable party and school tax exemption. Yes, we will be create split.
In the supplementary?
Yes.
Okay, so then the only thing that's gonna be different in the supplementary, depending on the decisions, obviously, but is the tax exempt.
Yes, and will be assessed value for 2020.
So you, regardless of where this decision lands up, the SUP is going to reassess
Yes,
the value of the second floor.
yes, it
Okay.
will be exempt. And in this case, it should be exempt second floor. It's office space.
So if you do it as a SUP, I'm just trying to understand this, they will not see the tax exemption on the tax bills that go out in June, right? Like you're not changing it for this, like on the roll right now.
That's why it will be new supplementary assessment because it's new information happened just less than months ago.
So when
Cannot predict it will be happen when we issue this assessment.
so the
notice.
timing of that would be what? Like the timing of the SUP would be when? It would be after.
Effective October 1st, 2022.
Okay, so it's after the roll closes, right?
Yeah, it will be issued shortly.
Okay, so they're gonna see that they're not receiving the tax exemption, they're receiving it as a SUP.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just needed to clarify that.
Mr. Mahone, thank you.
I think it's clear to me now, but the supplemental assessment will be issued this year. Again, reflect what has been discussed today with respect to the liability for taxation. Essentially, what we will be dealing with today for all intents and purposes is the main floor valuation, because the second floor valuation is going to be subject to the supplemental. Is that
School tax exempt, yes, correct.
right? Yes. Okay, that accurate, or is that fair? Ms. Shavel, is that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I think.
Ryan, your presentation.
Yes. So I believe the board is correct on that point. With any
And I see that your NOIs are pretty close to the same, so
fairly close.
we can deal with cap.
Okay. So would you like me only to speak to cap rate, Mr. Chair?
If you so desire, because you're, like $600 or $1,000, so I don't think that's gonna be a question of regards to anything to do with square footage, so
Yes, anything.
so cap rate you can concentrate on.
Okay. So I believe the assessor has given an accurate description of the property already, so I'm gonna skip over that. So I'll go over to page 13 of my brief. So for the first floor, second floor, the owner occupies part of the first floor and does occupy part of the second floor here. The leases that they stated on their rent roll were at $25 per square foot. We've consistently applied their rents in previous appeals, so I've applied $25 per square foot here. I provided lease comparables just showing that although this is an owner occupied rent here, typically would be considered invalid, but with the lease comparables that you see here that I've identified, they range from $22 a square foot to $28 per square foot. So we do feel that that rent of $25 per square foot is fair. We've applied a vacancy allowance of 5.5% and a shortfall rate of $8 per square foot. For non-recovered expenses, again, we have applied 7%, 2% for structural reserve, and 5% for non-recoverable expenses. Now, I have submitted our non-recovered expense study, but I imagine that this board has heard it quite a few times. So I'll leave it to the board if they actually want me to go through that study or not, after my presentation for the subject property itself. So again, this property here, it is classified as a medical office. Again, we put this in the realm of suburban office properties, which range from 6.5% to 7.5%. Given the age of the building, the layout, and the income forecast is baked in, and I know we've learned through questioning possibly a more accurate description in terms of these properties is the factors that I've considered in applying cap rates. So I've applied a 7.5% cap rate for the office portion, or for the medical office portion of the subject property. And this brought me to a value of $785,000. Now, for the office portion on the second floor, the lease that was in place as of their estate was $12 per square foot. However, we do know that the tenant vacated early. They occupied 3,272 square feet. I provided lease comparables here. Leasable areas ranging from 790 square feet to 1,114 square feet. Didn't have a lot of suburban offices really that I was able to refer to. They range from $8.50 a square foot to $14 a square foot. And that resulted in an annual rent of $39,264 or $12 a square foot. We applied a 6% vacancy allowance, an $8 per square foot shortfall, 7% for non-recovered expenses, and a cap rate of 7.5% for this portion as well. And I can also go through our office cap rate study, but again, I'm not too sure how many times the board has heard our office cap rate study, but I can go through that.
We've heard it probably a few times, so
Okay.
There's no need to go there, Ryan. Thank you.
Okay. And in conclusion, we're asking the board to adjust the assessed value to a total of $1,222,000. So for the class code 60 portion, we've applied $785,000. For the school tax exemption, we've applied $437,000. And again, that rounds to the total of $1,222,000. I do feel that the values are still relevant because they're only exempt from school taxes.
I thank you, sir. Madam Assessor, questions of the
No
applicant?
questions. No questions.
I thank you. Ms. Davidson,
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Mahone?
No questions, thank you.
So Ryan, just offhand, if we're looking at the figure that you had mentioned, the class code 60 would be about 64%. And the other one, the 40, would be around 36. That's
yeah, I would agree with that.
okay. Summary, either party?
No summation.
Okay.
No, thank you.
All right. So we'll go to 1216 Lorette. Madam Chairperson or Assessor?
I believe that's 1218 Lorette.
I'm sorry?
1218 Lorette.
Yes, sorry. Madam Assessor,
Yes.
1216 Lorette.
File number 22-1804, roll number 12015573100, address 1218 Lorette. We are valuing the property as a stance of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion that the market value of subject property of April 1st, 2021 is $1,290,000. In that, the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is three-story medical office, suited on land area 3,361 square feet, gross floor area 5,340 square feet, and leasable area 4,862 square feet. No subject property leases, owner occupied. On page number 3 and 4, air photo of subject property and street view. On page number 5, I presented 17 leases, medical rent comparables with media of $24 per square foot. We can see my lease, photo of my leases on page 11. 717 Harrow lease for $25. On page 12, Taylor lease for $26. On page 13, Roblin between $16 to $25 per square foot. On page 14, two-floor building lease 1425 Caridon for $24-25 per square foot. On page 15, 2077 Pimbina leased from $20 to $25 per square foot. And we have media of my comparable $24 per square foot. We did assess subject property income, market income on page number 6, 4,862 square feet at $16.83. We apply 5.5% vacancy loss for medical suburban building, effect expenses 3%, shortfall $8 per square foot for a vacant space, and our capitalization rate 5.65%. So estimate value, market value $1,290,000 is the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021. In that, the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
I thank you. Questions of the assessor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Shable, going to just referring to pages 12 to 15, I believe, on pages 13 through 14, those are medical centers, correct?
Correct.
Okay, medical center office rents or medical center rents, would they typically be higher than your typical office rents?
Medical space usually rent higher than office space, correct?
Okay, and for those medical tenants in those medical center buildings, would you agree that they would be willing to pay a higher rent than possibly a single tenant medical building if it were to ever be leased out, given the fact that there's other medical tenants in there and it would attract other patients from going to their office?
That's why my comparables media show $24. We assess only less than $17 per square foot. Less than 5,000 square feet. It's fair in account for it.
Okay. And just one extra question regarding your cap rates here on page 16. You were asked this in the previous hearings here, I understand, but you're aware that Colliers themselves, they include closing costs.
This building full owner occupied, we apply vacancy loss, expenses, shortfall, that's why 5.65%. We already account for owner occupied space, and 5.65%, it's inside our range, 5.6 to 6.9 for 16% of properties. It's fair.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davidson,
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Mahone.
Just one question with respect to the cap rate. What is it about this property that leads to a 5.65% cap rate? That's the lowest one we're seeing today.
Because it's a property less than 5,000 square feet. It's if its property will be on market for sale, usually more people will be bidding for this property. It's more affordable compared to bigger properties. That's why 5.75% is reasonable.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Ryan, we're ready for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the property is 1218 Lorette Avenue, roll number 12-0155-73100. We're asking the board to reduce the assessed value from 1,290,000 to 977,000. I actually did inspect this property after the evidence filing date as well, last Wednesday. There were previous photos that another agent had taken of the subject on pages 17 to 22 of my brief, and I can speak to those photos that there has been no significant improvements to the subject property. So there's been no change. The photos would actually reflect my inspection accurately. Going on to page 6 of my evidence, I provided an aerial photo of the subject, as well as an exterior photo as well. Going on to page 7, so the subject property, it is not 3 stories. So in my conversation with the owner, and of course inspecting the subject property itself, it is actually a 2.5 story building. It's a bit of a raised building in a way. So I'm saying that it is 2.5 stories. It's a wood frame structure located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Lorette Avenue and Nathaniel Street, and it is used as an office building. So again, it's a 2.5 story structure with a basement, originally constructed in 2006, and is classified and has been classified by the city as a medical office building. It has a reported rentable area of 4,862. However, after again, looking at the leases here, this description has been pulled over from previous briefs. The leasable area is 5,008 square feet. So there's really no formal leases in place for this property. Each tenant is operating on a year-to-year basis, and the property is being used by a group of naturopathic doctors. The subject site, it is rectangular in shape, and the total site size, according to the city's records, is 3,361 square feet with C1 commercial zoning, and the land to building ratio is very small at 1.88 to 1. And the subject property has 3 stalls for on-site parking. So again, there were no actual formal leases in place here, but given the leases that were actually in place, we've netted out the leases. They are gross leases. We can see that for the Assiniboine site group there, the net rent that we calculated is $11.18 a square foot. For Dean Schrader, it's $15.21 a square foot. Gordon Sims is actually the owner. So we've applied a rent there of $15.25 a square foot. Leona Schwartz, the rent that we've applied is $22.06 a square foot. Suzanne Danner, that is actually the spouse of Mr. Sims, and we've applied a rent of $22 per square foot for that unit. For Shalom Kudin, we've applied a rent of $11.18 per square foot. So the annual rent is $83,120 over a leasable area of 5,008 square feet. The formula cell just wasn't working at this time, but the overall rent is actually $16.60 a square foot. For my lease comparables to support the current leases in place here, we've identified 8 comparables. The leasable areas range from 853 square feet to 1,445 square feet. The net rents range from $12.05 a square foot to $25 per square foot. And again, the total annual rent that we have is $83,120 or $16.60 per square foot. We've applied a vacancy allowance of 5.5%, which is consistent with what the city has applied. A shortfall rate of $8 per square foot, 7% for non-recovered expenses, and a cap rate of 7.25%. And that brings us to our final value here that we are requesting the board reduce the assessed value to of $977,000. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very kindly. Questions of the applicant?
Yes, page 12. You did provide leases existing this building. Leases started 2007, 2012, correct?
2007 to 2012, but in my conversations with the owner, they speak about the leases every year. So I can say that these are the leases that have been agreed to basically of January every year. So yearly, the owner is discussing with his tenants what a fair lease would be for those units in the property, which are actually only medical rooms in each space. No doctor in the property actually has their own sort of unit in the building.
So it is leases were negotiated in different markets, isn't that right?
My comparable leases?
Yeah.
Yes, they were negotiated in different markets, but I do feel that they're applicable to the subjects.
So reported market rate $83,120 correct, for 5,008 square feet.
That's correct.
So it's $16.43, and we assess this property at less than 82,000 market rent, correct?
That's correct. But we typically go site specific when we have the actual leases in place. So
we assess less as reported by you, correct?
That's correct, yes.
No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Davidson?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Ian?
I do not either. Thank you.
I just have a couple questions. I think there's probably 6 tenants there. Do they have parking at all?
I wouldn't expect them all to have parking since there's only 3 parking spaces on site. But when I inspected the property, I know that there's no time parking or anything there. So they likely park on the streets.
So there's a big discrepancy in regards to cap rates here. So Ryan, how can you get to the 7.25%? I mean, it's a fairly new building. I mean, you know, it's a 2006, so it's not, you know, looks nice.
Yes, so I believe we've been applying above 7% in previous years. So I'm staying consistent with that. Also, again, there is not much parking on this site. The layout of this building, I would say it's possibly atypical. I mean, it's a two-floor space. The tenants at this property, they're spread out between the upper floor, the main floor, and the basement. And even the tenants have, say, their examination rooms on the top floor and maybe their offices on the second floor, which, to my knowledge of medical office buildings, isn't very typical.
But I'm just, so you feel as if the 7.25% is warranted.
I do, yes.
All right, summation either party?
No, thank you.
Listening.
All right, I'm sorry about the mix-up in regards, I wrote down the figure, I had 1216 Lorette, but it's 1218. So we'll do the last one, which is 704 Osborne Street. Madame Assessor, whenever you're ready.
File number 22-1738, roll number 1200107400. We are valuing the property as it stands of January 1st, 2023, based on the economic condition April 1st, 2021. This appeal is with respect to the amount of the assessed value only. Based on the evidence in this report, in this assessor opinion, that the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021 is $727,000, and that the 2023 assessed value should be confirmed. The subject property is owner occupied, we don't have any property leases. On page number 2, red dot of location on subject property on facing Osborne. It's southwest side of the city. On page 3 and 4, more air photo in street view, Osborne Dental Group. On page number 5, I have same 17 rent medical dental rent comparables. They showed media of $24 per square foot. We did assess subject property for 4,100 square feet at $12.38. We did apply vacancy loss 6%, expenses 3%, shortfall 8%, our capitalization rate 6.1%. Our estimate value to $727,000. That is the market value of subject property as of April 1st, 2021. In that, the 2003 assessed value should be confirmed. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions of the assessor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Shable, looking at page 6 of your evidence here, the 2,580 square feet, that is the area of both the main floor and second floor combined?
Correct. And we have basement area 1,520, or we'll check. Yeah, basement area, if you look on page number 1, basement area 1,520, and plan area 1,700.
So my question again is just with regards to the main floor and second floor space here. Now, our second floor spaces, are they when there's no elevator access? I should ask that question first. Are you aware that there's no elevator in this building?
Yes, that's why we assess less als market rent.
Okay.
We assess only less als $12.40.
But you applied an overall rate here of $17.07 a square foot. Is that for both? Would that be the rate applied to both the second floor and main floor space?
Correct.
Or did you split it out?
No, it's all together.
It's all together, okay. So would it be fair to say that a second floor space with no elevator access would rent at a lower rate per square foot?
If you look on Roblin, they rent from $16 to $26 per square foot. That's why we did only $17 per square foot. It's fair altogether $12.38.
And are those main floor rents or are those second floor rents?
It's overall.
Your rents on Roblin, are they main floor rents or are they second floor rents?
Both area. Let's look on my Roblin. It will be fine, I guess. Harrow, Roblin, second floor rent for $16, but it's 8,000 square feet. Second floor on Roblin, rent for $24.
The subject property was built between 1942 to 1969.
Correct. That's why we apply capitalization rate 6.1%.
Okay.
To account for it.
Would you happen to know the age of your medical rent comparables?
Not, I didn't provide this, no answer.
So I guess looking at the photos here, is it safe to assume that these comparables look newer than the subject property, have been through renovations?
All my comparables superior, and they made at $24, and we apply 50% of it for subject property. It's account for it and it's fair.
Now, you had mentioned something in your last presentation here that the cap rates that the model has applied to this is sometimes based on the sizes of the property.
Yes, smaller property, less than 5,000 square feet, sell higher because more market pool of people who want to buy it. It's affordable.
Okay, so.
But it's still inside our range from 5.6 to 6.9. We apply 6.1%.
But the size of a building, sorry, is it, the definition of the cap rate here, are cap rates typically affected by the size of the building by definition?
No, it's model generated capitalization rate because it's evaluate all sale across the city.
No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davidson,
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Mahon.
Just to confirm something about the rent that's been applied in your page 6, I believe it is, that $17.07 per square foot, that's a combination of the main floor and second floor, as you said.
Correct, but overall $12.38 for 4,100 square feet.
Right. The $4, the substandard basement, do you know what the basement's used for, or is it used for anything but storage?
It could be storage area for files, because usually medical offices has a huge any medical has file storage. But in our case, it's 4,100 square feet and $12.38. What we're looking for?
4,100 square feet. Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
I have no questions. Ryan, the floor is yours for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so the subject property is 704 Osborne Street. The roll number is 10-001-403-000. Oh, something didn't carry over there. See, that's not right. The roll number is 12001074000. That's the danger in using some templates sometimes. The file number is 22-1738. We're asking the board to reduce the assessed value from $727,000 to $445,000. So I did inspect this property last year on September 27th, 2021. I can say that there's been no significant improvements to the subject property. So I've included the same photos that I have in the previous year's appeals here. So I'm just going to go through those with you after I get through my property description. On page 6, I provided aerial photos of the subject. You can see here that there is limited parking for this property as well. Provided a further map on page 7. And just going to this description of the property on page 8. So the subject property, it is best described as a commercial medical office clinic, and is an owner-occupied facility currently operating as a dental clinic. It's located on the northeast corner of Osborne Street and Baltimore Road. The subject building is a part 1-story, part 2-story structure with 2 basements. So there's a basement on the here on the east side of the building as well as the west side of the building. So that is atypical to have 2 basements within a commercial property here. I've gone through the ceiling heights of the subject property. I'm not going to read out that whole part here on page 8 as well. But there is no elevator access to the 2nd floor. Or the basement X-ray station. So the basement of the subject property, there's just a small portion there used as an X-ray station, but it is mainly used just for storage. Furthermore, there's a small staircase connecting the reception and waiting room, the original structure, and the patient rooms, and the rear addition with no ramp leading to those patient rooms. So these factors do limit the accessibility of the subject building for persons with limited mobility. The subject site, according to the city's records, is 2,728 square feet with C2 zoning. There is on-site parking available at the rear, but it is limited to 4 vehicles. I provided a number of photos here. There are many photos that I've provided of the subject property. So page 18, we can see starting on page 18, we can see the exterior photos. On page 23 is the 2nd floor. We have the break room there. On page 23, just some of the wear and tear shown on the building on pages 24 to 25. There is the office space here. We can see that this property, I believe it actually ran as possibly a commercial main floor and a 2nd floor residential when it was first built. Again, some more photos just showing the wear and tear on it on pages 27 to 29 of my evidence. Going on to page 31, there's the stairwell of the subject. On the main floor here, we can see that the front portion of the property is just used as storage right now, possible patient rooms, but as of right now, it is just being used as storage. We have the waiting room on page 34, reception on page 35, photos of the hallway on page 36. 37 is just more office space here, and the patient room starting on pages 38 to 40. And I'm just going to skip on here to the basement space. Starting on page 45, so this is the rear addition basement. So the stairwell, we can see that the X-ray station there. And provided more photos on pages 46 to 47 of that X-ray station. We can see that the rest of this basement is used as storage on page 48 to 52 of my evidence. And then on page 53, we can see the original structure here, the basement, the stairwell leading to that. And we can see, again, the wear and tear on the property in that photo as well. And just the photos of the original basement space there. So just going on to my analysis here on page 12, The city, they've applied a model rent of $50,775 or $12.38 a square foot. Now, this property was owner occupied as of the reference date, so we have looked to the market for comparable leases. So for the medical office portion, we've identified 12 comparables here, ranging in size from 484 square feet to 2,458 square feet. The rents range from $8 per square foot to $15 a square foot. For the office portion, we've identified 5 comparables leases ranging from 790 square feet to 1,114 square feet. The rents range from $8.50 a square foot to $14 a square foot. Going on to page 13, we've applied a rent to the main floor space of $14 a square foot. The second floor spaces with no elevator access, they typically lease out for a less amount per square foot. So we applied $12 per square foot for the second floor space. For the basement, we've applied $4 per square foot, and this has resulted in an annual rent of $40,440 or $9.86 per square foot overall. We've applied the same vacancy allowance as the city here. Just gonna check, I think. Yeah, of 6% and a shortfall rate of $8 per square foot, 7% for non-recovered expenses. And for the cap rate, we've applied 7.5%. And the value that we conclude is fair for this property is $445,000. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
Yes, please. Page 12 of agent brief. You provide to rent comparables for medical and office rent. Why?
So the main floor space is the medical, is the dental portion of the subject property, but the second floor space is just used as office. So that's why I've split it up this way. And also, as I had mentioned, second floor space typically leases out at a lesser rate than main floor spaces when there's no elevator.
Your comparables for medical office from 5 to 12 and up for 11 and upper floor space, we have to remove from your table, correct? Because we look for main offical space. It will be 11, 15, 15, 15, and 14. So your media will be going up, correct?
So you're saying that we have to remove the upper floor?
Yes, because you say medical main floor, you estimate specific for this purpose, your first table.
Well, I think the comparable leases that I have here, they are still medical office rents, so they're still applicable in this case. It's the second floor that should really be applied a lower rate because there's no elevator access. These are just medical rents. I happen to know that index numbers 5 to 11 there have elevator access too. So again, that being medical office rents, I think they're applicable in this case.
Your comparable number 5, month to month rent. We don't know when it will be was generated, when was negotiated. Month to month rent, it's not appropriate for market market study, correct?
If it's renewed month to month, then that's what the landlord is getting for it. It could be considered as applicable, but I agree they're not the strongest rents to be indicative of market value.
So it should be erased from your table. And table number 2, office rent. We're talking about second floor office space. So your comparable number 5 on Provincia should be removed, correct? So it will be affect your media,
As
your
I said,
estimation.
yeah, I mean, we could remove it here, but I think this is just showing that like we can't be applying the same. We can't be considering second floor space with no elevator access as superior to those as main floor rents.
Your comparable number 1 and 3 was negotiated. Comparable number 3 was negotiated in 2011. It's how many years? It's 10 years before reference date. It was negotiated in different market, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And your comparables number 1 on Roblin negotiated 2018 and Concordia 2017 have to upward adjustment for time, correct?
Yes,
So your media will be going up, correct?
that's correct.
It will be affect your market value estimation, correct?
It would, sorry?
It will be affect your market value estimation, correct?
It would affect it, yes. But again, we need to consider that the second floor space of the subject property doesn't have elevator access, so.
No further questions.
I thank you. Ms. Davidson,
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Mahone,
Just a couple with respect to the, like starting at page 12, the rent that you've applied to the main floor, the second floor, and the basement. The basement, you've applied a $4 per square foot rent, same as the assessor. That's because the basement was primarily used for storage.
Primarily used for storage. You'll see on my photos of the basement space here, that is just a very, very small portion of the basement that's just used as an X-ray station.
There's 2 X-ray stations in the basement floor, are there not? And an office. I'm looking at your page 46 and 47.
Oh, yes, you are correct. Yes, there are 2 X-ray stations, but again, those are within the same, so I didn't mention this, but those are within the same area, so it's still a very small portion. The office portion, I include a lot of pages here. Can you please refer to which page?
I was just looking at the office as it appears in the doorway past the photo at page 46 and the one at 47.
I believe those are just storage as well.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions. Summation either party?
No summation.
All right. Ryan, thank you very much for your presentations. Madam Assessor, thank you very kindly. The hearing we have scheduled, heard all the items that have been scheduled, and this hearing is now adjourned. So thank you both.
Thank
And have a good evening.